Don't do it by me because I've got two. I've got my handwritten budget and then I have
Probably,
the
George.
I should say handwritten, the one I made notes on.
We're gonna swatch, so she'll come on at 6.
Okay, so that's 4. Okay.
Bless you.
Okay, I'm going to call the Tuesday, October 15th Budget Workshop number 2 to order. Do I need a second for it? I don't know.
No, we could just
It's
take
not really a
attendance.
formal meeting. It's just-
Nope.
So we're good with that. Okay. I did want to take a minute to go over just a handful of the questions that came in on the sheets of paper. I plan on, thank you, Frank, for typing these up too, by the way. I plan on putting these inside of the slide deck that I'll post with the budget after this workshop so that you'll have a chance to go through them. Many of them are addressing departments that are presenting today. So I'm going to skip those for now and then readdress them if those questions don't get answered. One of the questions that's pertinent to really all of the different departments are telephone and communications. The comment was a lot of money is being spent across all departments. Consider a top to bottom review of services and service providers to potentially reduce overall costs. So I was so happy to see that because we had already started that. And we're in the process. I believe we've gotten one set of quotes, right? We have one quote that's floating around.
For just the new phone system?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so we are looking into that. We're not completely happy with what we have right now anyway, so the fact that it's increasing in costs isn't ideal either. So we're already into that. The next one that is relevant, but I don't have a strong answer yet because I just haven't seen the individual to know. How many seniors use the senior center on average in a month? This is a bit of a tricky question because they have different programs that go on different days at different times and sometimes once a month. So I can get a general number, which I meant to ask Linda O'Brien, and I apologize. I forgot to catch her, but I'll get that information for the packet once this is sent out. And then another comment was, are membership and association fees refunded for employment? If no, the employees should be paying for membership. So the only memberships and associations that we pay for are ones that have a direct benefit to their work here. And the other things that get put into that particular budget line would be any mandatory licensing or courses that have to be taken to keep their license active. There's usually some professional development that has to be done. So that's why they're pulled out of there. They aren't just random, like, hey, I want to be a member of such and such. These are things that are directly affiliated with their work here. So those are the ones that are of things that we've already gone over. The rest of them hopefully will be addressed today. And as I said, if they're not, we'll be sure to put some answers out there in the slide deck. So we are going to, since we already skipped, we're going to start with our central data processing. And that is our new IT director, Josh Panicha. And I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, everyone. So this is my first time doing this, so I apologize. And I inherited someone else's budget. And we don't have a comptroller. So it looks like the 1,400 line is for my summer intern, which I think is okay to keep. Everyone seemed to like Jad last summer, and he did great work for us. So the 2,000 line is for equipment and capital outlay. Aaron and I were talking, and this is the same amount as last year, this current budget. We're going to spend the whole amount on a couple more computers than we had originally budgeted for, and then that will free up all of next year to do our server and storage project, which the previous IT person had penciled in for year 3 anyways, and we're in really big need of that. The next line is for a company cell phone for me. Most other people in my role have one instead of their personal one. So I think the last person just opted for a stipend, whereas I would rather have a separate work line. Computer services comptroller is 20,500. I believe this is just Munis for the whole town.
Well, it's allocated, but yeah, that's the general fund portion.
Yep.
And we probably have to increase that, Aaron, because it generally goes up 5% every year.
Okay, we could go based on what we pulled all of those down that were pulled out of there. So we can find out. When do they usually give you that amount of what
We just paid it, so I can look it up.
And then the next line is for receiver of taxes software. That's 575. I believe that's just ongoing support for what they use in case, it breaks and I need to call them for help. Same thing with the assessor. And let's see here, commuter services, safety planning and zoning. It looks like there's a couple of notes here. We're thinking of adding project management module to Munis. Is that still a thing?
I believe that was planning department and the assessor's office that was looking into that. As far as I know, that's still a go.
Okay.
That was why that was.
And that
kept at
is,
same level.
I think that also, Aaron, is that BAS/IPS software.
It is,
That a
yeah.
couple departments share. So that's maybe why it's on my line there. And then the town clerk line is 7,500. I think that is for Laserfiche, which is their records management platform.
Yeah, they also maintain the E-code 360, which is how you're able to look up town code. And there's a couple other maintenance contracts in there too.
And then the $3,000 amount for computer services police, I believe that's their new HR software. It does scheduling and some other things. I think Jordan actually just worked to normalize that over the last 3 years. He talked about it last week, I believe.
This one also has camera software in it.
Oh.
There's a couple other things that are hanging out in here too, but aggregate, that's probably the most, the camera software.
And then engineering for computer services, we pay for computer-aided design software, mostly for like geolocation and things of that nature. You need a software to manage all the pipes in the ground and look at the ESRI data.
So unless there's been a change to that, we probably need to look at that because we've exceeded $4,000 and it was taken down to 2,500 this year.
We had, and I don't know where the Q's truck project came out of.
Yeah,
That was a earlier this year project that was put on hold, and I wrapped it up like a month and a half ago. And I do know that there was,
Bill coming in for that?
I don't think so. I think Matt, we had to go back to the vendor and they didn't sell us a license we needed. And so that might be where the additional like $2,000 from.
This is the 4410 you're talking about, right?
No, this is 4409.
Okay, good.
Sorry. And then, was that it on that one, Janet?
I think so.
Okay. So 4410, Aaron, this is Gmail. Is that what we decided earlier? When we looked it up?
4410, no. This one includes the website software. Yes.
So that's revised.
Yeah, and there's some VMware in here. There's Ninja RMM is
Okay,
in
so
there.
then, all right, then these are the tools that I use in the IT department. So Ninja One is our remote management platform we have to make managing all 130 computers easier. Veeam is our backup solution. We need that. We renewed that earlier this year.
E+ technology.
E+ is who we bought Veeam from in the past.
Yeah, I think that's all that's in there. Okay.
And then the 4411 line is, I think that is for recreation. And a big piece of that is the sports scheduling software.
The sports scheduling software is in there, and also Rec One. So any adult or parent that wants to sign somebody up for anything uses that software to make sure that they're the right age. They keep track of all of their pertinent medical information if they're going into camp. It's a data storage. They've been using it for years. So that's the other thing that's in there.
So then on the 4,600 line, miscellaneous and contractual, it looks like most of that line was for a CB20 retainer of $10,000. I believe that was just purchased for the interim for help when there was a lapse of an IT person here. And then 4,610 is cloud data storage. So we have a $405 a month fee with CB20, which is different than the retainer, and that pays for our offsite backup location. So we take our backups locally in our building, and then we put them in the cloud in case, you know, all of our servers get wet or an earthquake happens. We have them in a different geographical location to pull from. And we've been doing that for, it looks like 6 or 7 years now. And that's also through CB20. And then the difference in that, I think, is there's about $14,000 a year, which is what we pay for Google Workspace, which is who we get our email from currently.
Email and Drive and other capabilities that we're not necessarily using to the full capacity. We also had a lot of complaints, I should mention, internally about the switch to Google. I don't think anybody loved moving to Google, and that resulted in some of the departments needing to buy alternative licensing that Google couldn't provide because go through Microsoft, you'll be able to have Microsoft Office, you have the use Outlook. They can still use Outlook with their Gmail, but in some cases had to purchase licenses outside of this. So we're looking into pulling in how much people have spent on those other licenses to see if we can make it worthwhile to switch back to Microsoft. We got a really good price. That's still like an ongoing conversation because it will end up being a net increase. We just don't know how much because we don't know how much they've spent on these other licenses. So, but we're working on it. So we'll have more information on that.
And we were going to create a training and memberships line, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we need to determine how much is going to go into that.
Yeah. You said there's 2 conferences.
So
that
yeah,
are-
Nice Glida is a peer group for other directors of IT. Everyone in New York State can be it. You know, I was just out there last week. They had their fall conference. It was out in Watkins Glen. It was 3 days. Learned a lot on how every other county has the same problems as our town does, as well as some other towns out there. It was pretty beneficial, you know. Just talking to them, seeing how they handle certain things.
I think
things of that
they've
nature.
been pretty helpful in us trying to weed
Yeah.
through some of this, some technology that needed to be updated a long time ago that we're just getting to.
Mhm.
And actually, we should mention the .gov. We're going to be required to move to a .gov. Right now, we're a .org. You'd be surprised at how big of a project that is, but part of this offsite storage is one of the components I think you have to have. There's criteria you have to check those boxes in order to move to .gov. So
Yeah,
that's
and
another-
the conference I was just at, there were a couple peers there that helped me figure out how to start the process of asking for a .gov domain because there's some bumpers around it and things of that nature.
we have a deadline, right? Isn't there like a,
So the deadline is for counties,
Oh,
but it's
good.
only a matter of time before, and that deadline was in August. So it's also only a matter of time before that trickles down to the
Right.
towns and villages. So we have niskuna.gov at our disposal now. I haven't done anything with it. We just got it okayed yesterday.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, you know, plans for the future will be to change our website to .gov. And then I put a pin in the email stuff because I don't know how we have a longer discussion ahead of us in regards to if we're going to stay with Google for mail or go back to Microsoft. So
And Google doesn't end until September, so this would be a late in the year changeover. It wouldn't be a full year we'd have to pay for anyway. So we're trying to be very,
and yeah, that's a good point, Aaron. I'm getting some scared looks up
Yeah.
there about the Google and Microsoft. So we entered in a 3-year contract with Gmail, and our last year we just paid for, and that runs through September of next year.
It's my recollection, we did that to save money. The previous IT person did all these moves to save money.
Yeah, and so there was money saved there, but then there were hidden costs, like probably not to pick on Janet, she's sitting next to me. No one in her department could use their existing Excel spreadsheets, so she had to go and pay $200 a person to get Office licensed, so they could function as a department and things of that nature.
There has not been widespread adoption
Yeah.
of the Google products in general.
So what happened when we switched to Google services was we lost the ability to license Microsoft Office products. So no one could use Outlook, Office, Excel, PowerPoint, the things that most other places you do business with use. So if we got a spreadsheet with some formulas on it or a Word document with formatting, it would be incompatible with the stuff that our employees were using.
Well, we bought some licenses to be able, for the people that needed them to be able to use these products.
Correct.
Products. I remember some of that also.
What about the cloud storage? I mean, is there a way to get that down? Because it looks like a couple of years ago it made a big jump. I just don't know the running cost for cloud storage, but is there a way to get that down?
So maybe a couple years ago it jumped up because that's also, are you talking about the 4610 line?
Yes.
So maybe 3 years ago we added Google Workspace, which is Gmail, and that would be our $14,000 a year for the new mail system.
We get storage with that too. I think that's the right way
Correct.
they put it there. They give you Google Drive storage.
I don't know why they put it on that line. Yeah.
Yeah.
You recommend sticking with that for offsite storage, yes?
Correct.
Yes.
So I do recommend sticking with the CB20 Veeam backup offsite storage. Now, we'll have to see how it fleshes out, whether we stay with Gmail for our like cloud storage for all of our drives and stuff, or if we switch to Microsoft, has the same offering, but
So
different.
I've been here 9 years. When I got here, we were still taking tapes to the bank.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
and
that's how we had offsite storage.
Yeah.
Okay, we had physical storage that, we took from here to the bank.
yep. So we had a safe deposit box or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a fireproof box in the computer room,
Yeah.
and all the tapes are in there because we have to hold on to them for so
That was my
long.
job when I first started in IT.
We could probably,
So these are things that had to be done. We had,
Yes.
and that, this is important stuff. Now it costs money
Mhm.
to do those things.
So, but again, like that's just one, that's only $405 a month. I think there could be easily confused where we were just talking about the email system. That's different cloud
there's
storage.
two things on
Mhm.
that line. Yeah.
I mean, is there companies other than CB20 that would offer cloud storage, or is they, or
Sure.
like they the name? Or
No, they do. And honestly, Joe, what they're doing is reselling us a spot in Microsoft Online for cloud storage. So honestly, if we switch to Microsoft for email, we can do it ourselves and save that money and not have to go through a
yeah.
vendor.
But we already have the contract with Gmail for one more year, so that would be a conversation for next year.
Yep. And like, I'm a big due diligence guy. Like anytime a contract's up, I like to shop around, keep people honest. I think Aaron mentioned a little bit of it at the start of this meeting. I've already started with, I just found we have a Spectrum government business rep. They're going to shop around all of the internet in our buildings and make sure that we're getting the best rate and things of that nature.
And you're also working on the phone system.
Yep. I got 2 quotes, one in the mix, and then I have an option because I know everyone likes the old school on-premise solutions. I found a vendor that'll sell one on-prem too. So I'm just waiting for them to come through and walk around.
You also dug into the cell phone contracts as well, because we were paying for cell phones that weren't necessarily like,
Yeah, and
you didn't really need them. They were sort of a nice to have, not a need to have.
Janet actually brought that to my attention. And what she did was she put a note on the water and sewer guys' paycheck one week and said, if you don't use your work phone, please let someone know. And I ended up with 7 phones that no one ever used that we had been paying for. I think we saved like $1,300 a month.
Yeah.
Or a year, pardon me.
Yeah.
Off of that. And that was just one department. I haven't tried highway yet.
They don't have phones.
They don't?
I think
Okay,
it
they
is
took 'em
just
away.
water,
All
sewer,
right.
But that was good.
Mary took them away from them. They weren't using them. You can actually see where they don't use them on the cell phone bills that we get, so we just
Yeah.
shut them down. So did we land on where you want to put in a training line for him? What did we talked about?
I think it's absolutely valuable. I think that's the only way to keep up on what what the status quo is throughout the state. They have amazing.
$1,800
resources.
is well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a question about the personnel services line. So in the tentative budget, I think that I got that was printed for me, it's different than the budget that we have here.
You may have to talk about that.
Okay, so I want to look into that, all right?
It's an ongoing concern. But this should only represent Josh in here. Are you talking about the top line here? We don't have anybody else in that. Oh, no, wait, we don't allocate anybody else that line, do we?
Currently, we do, and this is a discussion for offline.
I gotcha. That's
Yeah.
what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. So we're being cautious, I guess.
Okay. Just trying to do my due diligence.
Yeah.
And
But you're bringing up a good point because one of the things that we experience here throughout this year is we cannot have one person working on IT. That if Josh walked in front of a bus tomorrow, we would have, and we have experienced serious issues not having support in that respect.
right, we've gone through struggles with that
Yeah.
and seen that they're serious struggles.
And it's not like we put it in the budget this year, but we are looking at this contract with CB20 as sort of like a Band-Aid.
Right.
It's not a good setup. They're a great company. I think the people in this building are more apt to call Josh, walk into his office in there, call this company for help desk, my printer doesn't work, et cetera, type situations. I don't know that we have worked out the best solution because obviously we are trying to keep the increases low, but I think if nothing else this year taught us that we can't have just one body in IT.
Yeah,
So-
and those are definitely conversations for like over the course of this year coming up and things of that nature. But we are an organization in a size that one person definitely shouldn't be doing everything. And I think you guys experienced a little bit of the hit by a bus problem. But yeah,
Yes, so we'll have to have, I don't know what the right answer is here, because
Yeah.
like I said, we really did try to cut everything that we can, and that was obviously not there, so we weren't about to add it, but we all know what went on this year, so we just didn't have enough help.
Well, we tried to do a shared services with another IT person in another town, but that really didn't work.
well, yeah, and I think the idea behind that was to give the guy who worked here before me and then the person in Rotterdam some pressure release. So because if the person in Rotterdam wanted to take time off, there was no one else there. So it's kind of like a buddy system. I don't think the idea there was for like overflow if
Yeah.
No, it was not. It was
Maybe you could ask that group to see if any of the other have like intermunicipal agreements, or just to see how other people have it set up so we can get some ideas. I don't
Yeah.
know if we've floated that by that group. I'm not sure that you have. Have we talked about that before?
Mhm.
Okay, so maybe we could do that and see if they have some good information.
Yeah, and I've also been one key takeaway from that conference was I'm just kind of looking at how the neighboring towns like our size operate, just to see what normal is and normal isn't, and kind of go from there.
I think that's good.
okay.
See, you were all worried. You did fine.
Josh, going back to our email provider, would leaving Gmail and going back to Microsoft eliminate the need for all of the extra licenses that we currently pay for?
Yeah, the use a technical term, crappy thing there is those were one-time buys, like a off-the-shelf retail license. So we can't return that stuff. That money's spent.
It's like the key code.
Would it?
Exactly. It was like going in Office Max, essentially buying, Windows. It's $200. You get your key code, you scratch off the back, and it's yours. It wasn't a subscription-based offering.
So by eliminating the cost of those licenses, would it essentially be less expensive than Gmail and what we're paying currently?
No, it was a one-time fee that we paid for it. Like I bought the licenses, we own them now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
Like my
not
video,
going
It's
to
not a
be.
monthly or an annual fee.
Correct.
It's not going to be less expensive, but it won't be as expensive as we originally thought, because with Google, you pay, it's a user is a user is a user. But here, in reality, we have people that use computers every day, and then we have people who barely ever touch them. So they might need an email address, but they don't need licenses to Office and things like that. So we're trying to just make sure everybody has only what they need. But Microsoft is expensive. Like it just
But it
is.
could potentially
If it-
get the cloud storage. Like it could help with
Yes.
cloud storage.
It can. It will be a net increase if we switch, but the reason why I think it's so important is that we have problems with communications and silo effect in this building, and the more that we can connect everybody in every department, in my opinion, that's what we should be doing. It's one thing to
Microsoft,
save money, but not if it's like wrecking systems.
they're more enterprise focused, Microsoft, than Google is. So Microsoft, you can do a lot of slick stuff, to use another technical term. Like you can have your email login also log you into like every other system we interact with. It's called single sign-on, and it's a lot more secure that way. To get back to like some of Jason's questions about maybe offsetting the cost, included in the more expensive licensing. So Aaron created a nice spreadsheet for me and sent it out to all the department heads, and they asked which employee has a computer and which doesn't. And the reason why we asked that question is because there's two flavors of licenses. They call it Government 3 and Government 1. Government 3 comes with licensing for office products. So that stuff Janet had to buy for her department would be included. You'd always have the latest and greatest. You can install it on 5 devices, so it can extend to like their home computer if we want to offer that to them as kind of like a little bonus for working with us. And then what it also does is it also includes operating system licensing. So every computer we buy, we spend about $100 for a Windows license. That cost, it would be $100 cheaper for every workstation moving forward after that. So things of that nature. I can talk you guys until you all go into a coma for IT guy stuff. There's a lot of better, industry standard. It's secure, blah, blah, blah.
Is that what everybody uses in your group?
Yeah, there were 2 other places, and I don't even know if I ever heard of the county that used Gmail.
Yeah.
And 4 people were actively moving from Gmail to Microsoft.
So things to think about. But like I said, we have until September, so we can do a very thorough analysis of what's what. We'll have more information about where we can save on other things.
Just kind of wanted to put the bug in everyone's ear. It will be something that will come up probably in the spring, start talking about and figuring out the game plan with.
All right, I'm giving you the hook. Is that okay? Do you guys have more questions?
So the figures in this budget that we have here adequately provide for your department for the year.
For now.
Thank you.
Let's add it. So I'm sorry, I know Laura has comprehensive plans, so I wanted to make sure she had time. That's my reminder. She's got a bunch of pages. Which one do we start on?
6,
Page 6.
yeah. 3620 safety inspection. So there's really not too much change in the building inspection, safety inspection lines. There's Janet added a little bit extra for overtime just because we've been getting more calls. Just sometimes cars hit the garages, fires, all kinds of things actually. And the building inspectors get called out by the police department. And that's mandatory overtime. We did remove a little from training and memberships, and I talked to Aaron about this. I think we probably should add it back.
Yeah, we are over budget already.
Yeah. And then we removed the vehicle and equipment gasoline line because they're electric vehicles. Any questions on that one? Yeah. Next page 10, 8010. The Zoning Board of Appeals. That is remaining the same. We have membership and training line to train. They have mandatory 4 hours a year credits they have to take. Legal notices because their agendas can be quite wordy. And that can actually sometimes go a little bit over 700, but I can move some money around sometimes to cover that. And then the miscellaneous and contractual is mostly for supplies to help print all their packets and things. Any questions on that one?
Easy.
Yeah, I know. Building and planning is boring. 80/20 planning and zoning also pretty much stayed the same. The only thing we changed was the consultant services. The $30,000 is in this year for the comprehensive plan RFP, and we are still going to try and award that and encumber it. So we're not carrying it into 2025. We know that's a hard year, so we're going to do the best with the 30,000 that we have this year.
Can you provide Matt and payroll with a list of planning and zoning board members? Because you've got some alternates and stuff, and I think he's having some questions about payroll. I
Yeah.
wanna make sure we're being accurate. with
Yeah,
it.
I can give him that.
Thank you. I meant to ask you that earlier and I got sidetracked.
Any questions on that one? And then lastly, 80/90 Conservation Advisory Council. Their main line is the charging stations at our different parks. And Frank correctedly told me I was looking at the wrong line. We're fine.
Okay.
So $6,000 is fine.
Erase that note.
We have an annual fee for those of $1,220 per set of stations. So there's still a $3,660 charge that's going to go to that line this year, but we've only expended 907. So, but they do go up because people are using them more and more, especially Lions Park train station. That one is a heavily, heavily used charging station.
Now, these are stations that we were not able to charge for.
No, we
or
charge for these ones.
we
Yeah,
do charge?
there is a corresponding revenue line.
Thank you
for
for
those.
clarifying that.
It's $24.50. So far this year, we've made $925 from them.
For offsetting the cost of the electricity.
Well, yeah. So, where'd my other one go? I think it is. We charge, I believe, 25 cents an hour. So far this year, we've paid $907 for the electricity, and I don't know exactly how your revenue lines work, but it says 925, so it's about the same.
Well, that's not what we took in, that's what we budgeted. I have.
Oh, that's what
everything
we.
come in.
Oh, never mind. That's what we budgeted to take in.
So-
We'll get to it over there.
All right, so
So
we'll.
we
investigate
budgeted, we
that.
budgeted 900 and then, but the cost is 6.
So we charge 25 cents a kilowatt hour.
Well, how are we getting that money? Because there's nothing that's come in yet this year.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to pay us quarterly. What did we take in last year?
$230.
$231.
Do they get invoices?
They made us all, we don't have any way to invoice them. I think that they hook up to the machine. It
Yeah,
looks like
it's
we took in-
part of our contract. They're supposed to pay us quarterly.
Yeah, well, they haven't. We had 3 payments in March of 2020.
So we need to.
They also invoice us improperly,
Oh,
which is
that's
why I
what
still
we're
haven't paid the
talking about.
$3,660 one
Okay.
because they
All
have
right,
to
so
fix
we
the
have to
invoice.
look into that.
Yeah, but technically we do charge for them so that it's not a full cost. The town isn't paying the full cost of those stations.
What dictates the cost that we charge? Just wondering. Or is it like contractual?
So EV drivers are well aware of what a normal cost is for a station. If you make your station's energy cost too high, they just won't plug in. So we're just 25 cents is pretty standard. If you go too much higher than that, they just won't plug in because they can charge at their house depending on the time of day. Like, it's 16 or 18 cents a kilowatt hour. So when we charge 25 cents, it's still a little bit more expensive. But a lot of times, if it's close, then you'll still get them to plug in and use the ones at the parking station. But if you're charging like $1 a kilowatt hour, you won't get a single person to charge it. And I mean, you still have to pay the computer license renewal fees every year. So you want a price that will do as much to recoup the cost of the engine and energy as you can without dissuading people from plugging in. That makes sense. Just a standard rate.
And then the company that we go through for the energy, like, is that the only name in town, or is there?
The energy just comes from National Grid. Yeah.
Oh,
Sadly, it is the only name in town.
all right.
I wish we had another one. Yeah, but that line looks good. Maybe we could even, maybe we can check. We may not even need the full 6,000. We'll see where we end up at the end of the year.
Well, we need to know before the end of the year because we have to come out of the budget by November 9th.
Yeah, so I mean,
Well,
I think
can
we should
look
keep
at
it at 6,000. That's all I have, unless you guys have questions for me.
Why do I feel like we talked about more than that?
Well, we talked about some of the revenue lines,
Oh, okay.
but
we don't
I totally disclosed that I don't do revenue a whole lot. So I was just checking the revenue lines
Okay.
from my department with what was on the budget, and I just thought I think that we are taking in a little bit more building fees than we have in there, and I think that
This paper-
our apartment registration, I double checked with Linda. The $5,145 is what we get every year for the apartment units. That is all of them. All of them have paid this year. $5,145 means that we've gotten registration from every single one of our multifamily registration fees. So so it was budgeted at $10,000 last year, and maybe we were thinking because Rivers Ledge was gonna. I'm not exactly sure why it went up to 10,000, but it's 8,000 this year. But we probably should bring it down. So I would just recommend you could add a little to the building alteration permit line, and I would reduce a little from the apartment registration.
I think we said 280 up from 260.
Yeah, I think you could go to 280, and then I would bring the apartment registration.
To 5145.
I would, if we get a Hodorowski built. Well, it's not Hodorowski's not going to build it, but we may get two more apartment units done by the end of next year. But that's only going to add $70 to that budget. So
Did everybody get that? Building permit 2555 is going to go from 268 to 80, and then the apartment registration 2590 is going to be reduced to the 5145.
Say that one more time, please, Aaron. I'm sorry.
2555.
Yep.
We're going to increase that to 280.
Okay.
And then we're going to do 2590, decrease that to the 5145 from last year. So a net increase.
yeah, I just think that's going to allocate it a little bit better to where the money comes in. So we're just a little safer on that. I don't normally do revenue, but that was my suggestion.
We appreciate it.
Well, we checked in with we were
Linda,
already at 268.
we are at
right
268 right now this year as of September.
So we could actually even bring in a little bit more, but that's a nice conservative estimate.
You know, if you know, it was kind of interesting. The pandemic came, and then a bunch of people added a lot of alterations to their house. So we got more money really in building alteration permits than we thought we were going to. But you know, if the economy gets tight and people stop adding additions to their home or doing kitchens and stuff like that, that could go down. So it's just our best guess. Let's hope for a strong economy next year.
Your lips, right?
Any more questions? I'm waiting for your question.
We all are.
Okay. Do the figures in the budget adequately supply your department for next year?
Yes, they do.
Thank you. Anybody else can jump on that if I'm looking at something. Feel free.
Alrighty, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Laura. Okay. hold out there for a minute. I think we have police up next.
Good evening, everyone. So if we just want to go through line by line, our personnel services line obviously increased. Those are based on contractual obligations. The town is required to pay as part of the CBAs.
You on page 5, Chief?
You know what? I am on page 7 on mine.
You might have a
Five on
different.
We have different.
You guys,
Do we?
yeah, yeah, fine.
Okay.
It's
Page-
A003120, John. A003120.
So the personnel services line, again, those are projected out by the comptroller's office with regards to contractual obligations. That's what those increases are. 1,200 police overtime, you'll see an increase. It was something that several of us were talking about this year. We've sort of had more overtime for court overtime, various community engagements, things of that nature. The reason that we don't usually go over on overtime, but the reason that we had increased it by the amount we did is also potentially in anticipation of retirements. So obviously with retirements, staffing decreases and then you have to supplement overtime. We have approximately 5 members that could potentially retire within the next year in this budget cycle. So it's something that we need to budget for in case that does in fact happen.
Right. And you also, obviously, it's hard to get officers, but you do try to hire in anticipation of that best that you can.
Certainly.
right?
did-
Difficult job, but best that you can.
I did my little write-up that I normally read out loud, but I'm gonna keep it short this year. We have hired 12 new police officers since January of 2022. And that's in a very difficult market for policing. So 3 this year so far. 1250 is the police holiday overtime. Again, that's contractual requirements and obligations. Comptroller projects those out. The training, we do prioritize training. We've been really good. Thank you to Lieutenant Frenier. We've been able to schedule a lot of our trainings and sending people to training, being able to manipulate schedules to save some monies that would traditionally be overtime based. So we thought we could decrease that slightly. 1,600 is the administrative line. The increase in that, besides again contractual obligations, is we wanted to offer up the potential for an executive secretary 2 position to Chris O'Brien. That position is currently executive secretary 1. It's traditionally been, my understanding, an executive secretary 2 position. Chris is doing more than even an executive secretary 2 does. And she has been a very hardworking, diligent, amazing employee now for 3 years in the police department and before that with the court. And so we wanted to offer her that potential to continue on that trajectory in her current position, moving up into an executive secretary 2 position. The 2000 line equipment, we were able to substantially decrease this year. Part of that was because we've been applying for many, many grants and we've been awarded many grants. A lot of our capital outlay with regards to equipment, LPR technologies, otherwise you've heard me talk about out loud. That $196,000 law enforcement technology grant. We got a $32,000 body worn camera through DCGS grant, as well as the original SRT grant that we're still working off of. And we have currently applied for the Burn grant, which we applied for, which is a reimbursement grant up to $500,000 I applied for different technologies and other equipment that we need as well. So we felt comfortable based on what we currently have with reducing that down for this fiscal budget cycle. 2,300, the vehicle purchases line. Again, this is just our regular rotation of every 3 years. We try to decommission 2 of our patrol vehicles, and if they're in good condition, continue to utilize them for our detective division and cycle out one of those vehicles. If they're not in good condition at that point, because they have between 85 to 105,000 miles on them, we then auction them to see if we can get somewhere last year, I think we got $8,000, I think a piece for the vehicles, $7,000, $8,000 a piece. So we factor that in as well. This current projection in this budget is with an 8% increase in the vehicles and new equipment in the vehicles. It's a very fluctuating market depending on what's going on in the economy and what's going on worldwide. There was a time where we actually got pushed out of our contractual obligations with a mini bid, and we had to find some on a lot somewhere. So we have to be flexible when we're looking at these things, but obviously we need safe vehicles that can operate at high speeds and different road conditions. 2530 is the firearms. We didn't have an increase to that, but that, just to mention out loud, we're continuing to transition to new sidearms for police department members to the Gen 5s. Something that's not factored in there that maybe we should talk about behind the scenes is that every handgun that we turn in, we get a credit for $235. So the Gen 5s cost about $410. We're turning in our old weapon, getting 235 credit back for that. So it's kind of balancing out where it's not a substantial cost for every gun because we're recouping some of that cost through the trade-ins.
You're doing that department-wide?
That is the goal. It's going to be a process. This year, we've done the administrators, and we're trying to scrape together some money through other lines to do the DD as well. And then next year, we're going to try to do, a portion. We're just kind of doing it year by year by year and trying to get those sort of upgraded.
Is the firearm purchase just for the actual firearm, or does it include like ammunition?
Just for the firearm. The ammunition would come out of the firearm and range supplies, the 4112.
Is there increased training with new firearms?
So it's a similar gun. We still go to the range twice a year. We were just down there recently. There is nothing different between the current generation of Glock and the new generation of Glock that would be so substantially different that we would need upgraded training. I will tell you, it fires much, much smoother. It's a new gun. So it just, everything about it feels very comfortable in firing. The 4004 line is a uniform purchases line. We were able to decrease it slightly. The reason we had to increase it so substantially the previous year was because when you hire new people, it costs a lot to outfit them with uniforms. We still do currently have one open position. And again, if we do have folks retire, we need to kind of maintain that line sort of up in the range that it currently is. In the event we would have to outfit more new officers with uniforms and equipment. The 4005 line is the protective vests. That's our body ballistic vests. Again, we have a grant that we applied for starting, I believe it was last year. We get a 50% reimbursement for those vests. Vests currently, the ones that we currently wear, they cost about $1,200 for the full outfit. So they're not inexpensive when we're hiring. Again, talking about hiring and replacements and all these things.
What's the longevity on one of those vests?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. And we have a big spreadsheet that cycles everybody in and out on those 5 years. 4060 is a training and memberships line. We did increase it as we're hiring more female officers. We're trying to get them to be eligible to go to the New York Women's Law Enforcement conferences. So that was an increase. That tends to be a destination conference overnight. So we're trying to increase that line to accommodate that specifically because I think that's very important that they network with other women in law enforcement. 4100 supplies and materials, that stayed flat. The 4102 uniform cleaning, we decreased it by $500. Now that we had changed our contractual obligations with regards to uniform cleaning, the only folks that currently use it are the administrators, and we don't tend to use it. I mean, if we use it to do our Class A or something like that, that's whatever, it's $40 or something once or twice a year. So we can decrease that. The 4112 firearms and range supplies. Again, we were able to decrease this one by $1,000 only from a historical usage perspective. We felt comfortable with that for this upcoming year. The 4118 vehicle repairs insured line, that stayed status quo. Obviously, that's for if we get in a crash, we have to use those monies to pay for the insurance obligation to get the vehicle fixed. 4138 vehicle maintenance and repairs line, we did decrease that by $5,000 this year. That was in essence based upon the past 3 years of historical usage. I will mention out loud, I mentioned the supervisor today, I don't feel comfortable going any below $40,000, and that may even be an issue. Our maintenance agreement is coming up in February, and then we'd have to put that back out to bid. I don't know if anybody remembers the last maintenance agreement we had. The next closest bidder was essentially between $75 and $100 more per hour for labor costs. So it's something we need to keep on our radar. 4150, the vehicle and equipment gasoline line. Again, that decrease was based on usage, historical usage for the past couple of years. The 4150 vehicle, or excuse me, 4250 telephone and maintenance line, that stayed status quo. So when Josh was up here previously and we were talking about telephone and maintenance, that line specifically pays for our cell phones. I know that we just went through a transition past year from Verizon to AT&T to be on the FirstNet network. And for anybody that's familiar with what that is, it's really important that we have service. There are dead spots in the town of Niskuna, right? And in the event of some sort of catastrophe or critical incident, the FirstNet network does provide us the ability with priority air on those lines, which are incredibly important from a law enforcement perspective. So as we're talking through these things, I think we need to just keep that in mind as well.
The school said that?
I don't know what the schools do or don't have, but I know that they have a lot of dead zones inside of the school itself with regards to cell phone usage.
I was just thinking about that. Maybe something to bring up for the safety committee. I don't know if they do it or not. But
I don't think they would have access to FirstNet though. That's
know,
first
because-
responder strictly.
Yeah, well, because of just the supervision, because whenever there's been a school incident, everyone's on their cell phones, although maybe the new cell phone policy will cover that, but,
It's possible.
and it jams up everything.
Yeah.
But
The 4410 equipment service contracts and maintenance line, we were able to reduce that because of a grant that we had to pay for one of our technology services. I will say that we're probably going to be maintaining this at the 7,000 or more range. Part of what's going to come out of here moving forward is potential maintenance components. When I say maintenance components, like paying for electricity essentially for these different LPRs and things of that nature. I don't think it's going to be substantial, but there's going to be a cost to it, obviously. The 4550 impoundments and towing. Again, that went down by $1,000. Sorry, I'm squinting at this point. Just a note on this one, we are still working on that towing agreement to be able to put out, to have a contract with our towing agencies that we utilize. In the event we do this, we're not going to need to necessarily fund this line for the whole year or even moving forward because we're not going to be collecting the funds specifically from that. The 4575 UCC dispatch line, this is projected out. I don't sit on that committee. That line and the next line with the radio compatibility, that's a part of that. And Bill, you could probably speak better to it. That countywide committee that sort of has the oversight advisory committee. I don't know what it's specifically called to the UCC, where they vote on contractual obligations, raises, all the
I've been
projects.
to those meetings.
Yes. Yes.
You know, they struggle, as you know, to get employees. So they've made adjustments in their starting salaries and other salaries to try to, you know, make sure that they have people and be able to retain those people. So by us increasing that is probably a good thing because that just gets passed on to all the municipalities.
Is that something we don't have control over then?
Well, you go, I have a vote, you go, the person that attends the meeting has a vote and you've got, you know, Rotterdam City and, you know, everyone is there, but it's, you know, when they do a good job, the people that run it and they put out, you know, this is what we're paying, this is what we feel we need to do in order to be able to retain and recruit new people. So, but you do have a vote, yes.
Yeah.
I will say that we generally, they do an audit. They self-audit at the end of a year when everything is paid out. And generally, we do get a refund check. It's not huge, but we do every year. Since we've had the UCC, we've gotten some form of a rebate from them when they actually compare they don't keep the extra,
Yeah.
right? They
Right.
figure it out by municipality and they do send it back
Right.
to us.
It's working.
The 4585 drug and alcohol testing, again, that is something that we randomly test for, so it's contractual. The 4600 miscellaneous and contractual, this line is the bane of my existence. It's sort of that catch-all. You know, when we talk about, you would think that there would be a line that just said hiring. It's not. So a big chunk of what comes out of this line is not only our Lexapol software, which is our accreditation that we're working towards based, policy management manual, Police One Academy, but also all of our hiring background checks, Ellis Works, Guardian, our psychology tests. This last go around when we went to hire the 2 current candidates that we have, recruits inside of the academy, we spent a substantial amount of this money on other candidates that we didn't end up hiring, because we have to put them through all these processes and we foot the bill, which is, we want to have control over that, obviously. And it's the law that we have to do those things, but there's a substantial cost to processing potential candidates and personnel. So yeah, this line, we needed to increase it because I had already moved money into it. Our Axon, our teaser payment comes out of, there's quite a few things that come out of this particular line. And then the 4645 vendor background checks, that's for peddlers fees. We didn't have anything for safety seats. I don't know if we want to talk about the other lines. I can talk about the dog control officer lines. Do we want to talk about the equipment outlay, and the traffic signs and electricity? Aaron, did you want to talk about that or no?
No, I think because I need to get more information about, from what I understand, if you're looking at 3310, there's a really substantial electricity line in 4220. So we were digging at that today and we realized that it is the traffic circle, correct? Is that what we figured out?
It appears to be the Rexford Bridge sort of traffic
That
circle.
went into a lighting
lights.
district, I believe, at one point, and so the revenues are captured through the lighting district and then transferred into this fund for that line. I don't know why it's set up that way, but I'm still trying to pick at that to figure it out. It's been done that way, I think, since the circle was built, but I'm still trying to figure out the origin and why it's in there that way.
Well,
So-
there's multiple lights there as well.
Is it? It's not just that makes me feel better because I was thinking
Birchwood.
to myself, why is it so expensive to have a traffic
Birchwood,
light
Troy
there?
Road.
So it's got to be all the lighting districts.
Well,
Right?
no, it's not all of them. I mean, there isn't.
If you
This one
flip
here for
to the
30
back,
and
your lighting districts are past sewer 6. So it's page 30. No, I'm sorry. I lied. It's revenue. There's water. Let me see. Oh, no, I do have it at the end.
33.
So 33, is that where it is? Yeah.
33, I think.
Page 33, these are the you'll see LO1 all the way through. There's some of these are just neighborhoods that years ago put in, like I'm thinking of Country Club. They have really nice, beautiful lights there. That's a lighting district in that neighborhood. So
Right, so that neighborhood pays for that.
pays for that.
Residents in that neighborhood pay.
So these monies here, and it does look like last year it was 40. So that's what we're budgeting. We'll see a slight increase in electricity, but all of this lighting district money, I believe, is fed in. I don't know why we have it under traffic control though. I guess because some of it is traffic control. I feel like I need to pick that apart. So
Every
for
time
now,
somebody
it's
asks me about it, I go,
offset, but I know we were having this
Yeah. I don't
but
know.
this is definitely a national grid bill that is
Yes.
offset by the collection of funds from the individual districts.
Yeah, so everything that doesn't fall under those lighting districts and Birchwood and what was the other one I said? The Troy Road Triangle. All the rest of the lighting gets paid out of this line.
Huh,
It's like a
okay.
$3,300 bill.
Yeah, I just think it's so funny that like I'm still trying to figure out the rationale for the districts because they're so anyway, I'm taking apart old documentation. So once I figure it out, I'll be happy to share. But it is offset by the lighting districts.
We're responsible for the cost of those, even on state roads. I mean, the traffic circle being.
So that was
It's
the
the very
other
first question I asked.
that was
So you got a
the-
county
I need
road
to
coming into a
look at
state
that
road into-
inclusion because
don't know.
I
County road
don't
in a
get
state road,
that.
Why are we paying for it?
Well,
I
this
don't
is
know.
my question. So that, and it's somehow it's just that neighborhood over there.
But I don't know if it's the streetlights in the Williams East Street area. I'm not,
No,
that's the
you're
part I
right.
wasn't for certain
It
about.
might actually
Oh,
be
there are
the
lights around.
streetlights
Yes.
that are around the.
Yes.
Yes, that might be what it is. I just think it's funny that they have it under traffic control. That's the other piece that I was sort of like, huh. But that's, I was nervous that this was $40,000 for only the circle. I'm like, something looks wrong about
Oh,
that.
that wouldn't be right.
Yeah, but I don't,
That's not right.
I don't,
So most of it would be offset anyway by the lighting districts.
It should
That's
be
laid out.
completely offset, right? For the 40?
The L districts are different.
They have their own bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have their own expenses and revenues.
But you said there's more than just the circle in here,
So,
right?
yeah, so there's, Margie gets like an literal outdoor lighting bill, and I want to say that there's probably eight or 10 lines on it.
We looked at it
So-
together, like Parkville Place is on it too, because they have a couple, you know,
I'll pull those.
there's a couple different.
I'll pull those into one worksheet that I can circulate just so we all have
I think
more
under
information.
Control, because it's lights that are by roads, so they're related to the road being there. Like any of the lights around town and stuff, those are all paid for
Stoplights.
by us. Because
I get that, but then there's other lighting districts that are paid out of other lines for the exact
Those
same
lighting
thing.
Districts are for specific, like those, the money that comes into that is raised on the people's tax bills that live in those areas for those lighting districts
Well,
specifically.
This right here,
This
though,
is just across the whole A fund. This is part of lighting, but like if you.
but we did connect, didn't we connect it to that one lighting district? The LO5?
I don't know, I wasn't part of that conversation today. I was too busy trying.
I think that's
think
what
we
we
had to dig into
connected it to.
I think we got to dig into it.
But regardless, I
Yeah.
feel like this is a nice little deep dive. We'll take it in the National Grid bills and I'll send you guys what I can figure out from agreements and why, what is what. But it's been done like that for years and I'm just trying to, if we had some rationale that we could carry year over year, it'd be helpful for the next crew.
The only other thing I had was the 3510, which is the control of animals lines. So you'll see an increase, obviously, in the personal services line. Bruce Hirschenroder has done a phenomenal job for us. He was a godsend. We have had a massive increase of animal cases, dog bite cases, complaints, and you know, when people call, we have to go. And he has done a lot of good work over the dog park, investigating, doing dog bite cases, dangerous dog cases. Here I was saying, you know, we've never had, I couldn't tell you the last time we had a dangerous dog case. And of course we signed the contract and we have one, right? Increasing the personal services line for this, I think is important because we're just seeing this increase. And I keep saying it out loud in the police and public safety meeting. I suspect that COVID happened, everybody got a pet, and now here we are, right? That's just what I believe is going on. Everybody got a dog during COVID. With more dogs, obviously, you're going to have more opportunities for things to go wrong. So, and then in conjunction with that, the 4,600 under that miscellaneous and contractual, that increase is for that contractual obligation to the Montgomery County SPCA for our dangerous dog contract. And they're also a secondary location and a backup to the APF for us. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions.
For the vehicle purchases, do we just have like one vendor that we use? Is there?
Put it out to a mini bid. It's done through OGS. We blast it out. We get a lot of different numbers. I have to be honest with you, I was very impressed that Metro Ford came in substantially below other people this year. That's who we used this year. But it's sort of the roll of the dice.
And then for uniform, that's not just like the blues you wear. Is that the Class A's too? Or is that
All the above.
everything? Okay.
Yeah. All the above. Everything. You're talking about gun belts. You're talking about keepers. You're talking about pepper spray, OC, holders, everything that you wear. Coats, boots. And just to give you an idea for new officers, you know, I couldn't give you an exact number, but if you don't include the body worn vest, I mean, you're talking about still $5,000 to $6,000 in uniforms and equipment at a minimum per officer.
Now, is auction, back to vehicles, is auction the only way to sell them? Is there other ways? I just don't know. I'm just wondering.
It's the way we do it because we want to make sure it's transparent and we go through sort of those normal channels. I mean, Raina's guys are great at it. They kind of showed us how they do it. That is the way we do it. We've recently, like I said, we've sort of recycled some of our good patrol vehicles if they have extra life in them. Detective Kafaga and Detective Munger right now are driving two of our former decommissioned patrol vehicles because the vehicles they were driving weren't really police vehicles. You know, we had gotten a good deal at one time on some vehicles and they weren't pursuit rated or any of the above. So we're trying to move away from those vehicles and get into police vehicles for our police officers, even our detectives. But one of the grants that I did write, I put in there to attempt to purchase 2 vehicles on the grant. There's no grants out there that I'm aware of that you can purchase vehicles on. I did write that in there, and we'll see kind of where we land on it.
So then this is for 2 vehicles?
This is for 2 patrol vehicles, yes. What's that? Yeah, plus their outfitting. I apologize. Yes, plus their outfitting. Does anybody have any other questions before I run away?
Look at Bill.
I know Bill's question, yes, is going to adequately address the needs of our police department to continue the complement of service that we need for the town of Niskuna for 2025.
Thank you, Chief.
Anybody else? No? No? All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
I do that. I just broke that.
Don't break it.
We're okay.
Ready? Isn't it? Keep it rolling, right? You want to just keep rolling?
I think so. Do you guys need a break? Do you want to take a break? Are we okay?
No.
I want to. Okay. Ray, I don't want to backtrack too far, but since we were just talking about that traffic control section.
Yep.
How do you decide for the traffic signs? I had it highlighted and I can't remember if we talked about it or not.
How did we decide on that number? It's down a little from last year. By no means other than to try to save. We did the pricing is about the same on the signs and signposts.
Oh, the posts were more expensive too.
Yeah,
That was the other thing.
they had
That's what
a
we talked
huge
about.
increase since COVID.
Okay. Okay, that was all I needed on that one. Sorry.
Are we going to make him go line by line, or are we just going to talk about?
I don't know. You guys would you prefer line by line? I was sort of telling them to hit the high points. No pun intended.
How many lines are there?
That's fine. Ray's got a lot of categories.
Do you want to
so-
start with parks a little bit on that or?
Do we want to start building services?
Shared services.
Building services,
Oh, right.
Services.
Yes.
Start in the beginning.
Big one.
page 4.
Well, it's 3 for us.
Huh?
4 for you, 3 for us. Different paging.
We're on a different page already. We didn't even
Already,
start.
already. Usually we're on the same page. I don't know.
Not a good way to go.
So we can speak to the personal services part-time line. We got rid of one of the contractors that we had for cleaning, and we hired a young gentleman to do cleaning in the police department, and I think they're satisfied with him. And Aaron and I had talked about potentially even increasing his hours a little bit, because we'd really like to get away from some of the contractual stuff. The contractual stuff is expensive, and quite frankly, they're still not doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, I agree. So
So
this,
the
we're
we're kind of
1300.
playing with that. You know, if we can maybe get another part-timer in here, it'll still be less expensive. But Ishmael's doing a really good job over at the police department, so
Yeah.
hopefully maybe we can give him a few more hours and he can come over to this side and, you know, help out on this side until we figure out what we're gonna do. But this contractual stuff just doesn't seem to work for us, and I don't know why.
And that's included in the 4155. Do you see the note that we had there about the cleaning? So we have
Mhm.
3 different cleaners, right? Is that what it is? The senior center has a cleaner. That's the old Jan Pro contract, but
Yep.
they're good because that's a pretty inexpensive one, I think, right? Is it?
It's
I can't
$850 a month, I believe.
Okay. And then, but ours, the new one that we have is a bit more expensive.
Like-
And I don't know how many hours Ishmael would.
Well, he can't go above 29 because then
Right.
you get into a benefit issue.
And if that would be enough, if it would be great, but we'll have to have that conversation with him. I think,
I spoke and just mentioned to him to his
job coach.
job coach about if there was an opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork.
So the hope is that we have him in 1,300 and we'd be able to reduce 4,155 for next year. That's the hope.
So right now we're still paying the contractual, but we want to get away from it in lieu
How long
of
is our
him.
contract? Did we sign it for 6 months?
I don't know. I'd have to pull it up. I started to do that this morning and I got sidetracked, but
We've been both ways on this. We've had
Yes.
hired individuals part-time to do our cleaning, works out for a while, sometimes it works out for a long time and and it depends. And we go to a contract and starts working out good and then that tapers off. Janet's been here a long time. She knows.
I agree.
It is a bit of a struggle. It really is.
I agree.
But I think we found better success. I think that when we find the part-timers that do the job.
I think so too. And Aaron and I had this conversation. I feel because we can direct them, right? So we would put them on the schedule. If we were having some sort of a special event here on a weekend and needed the bathrooms and whatnot cleaned for the next day, we could say, okay, you need to come in on Saturday at 5:00 when the event's over. And I think really just having somebody here to direct them and say, okay, this needs to be dusted this week. Can you, on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, dust the stairs, vacuum all the time when you see dirt. But we don't really have any control over these contractors. They come in when we're not here.
Yeah.
Erin
Some of
left
the
her
doors
office
are
door
locked.
open with big notes, please clean my office, for 3 days, and they never even went in there.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a tough thing to direct when you're not here, because they're coming in when we're not here, right? They just come in and do their thing and then go home.
Don't get rid of anybody until you have somebody else lined up, right?
That's why we have it in
Yeah,
here, but
let's
we're
not do that
hoping
again.
Let's
Yeah,
not
let's
do
not
that
do that
again.
again.
Are you up?
Right?
So we're
Scrubbing
hoping that
toilets
it's
at
going
8
to
o'clock in the
equal
morning.
out in cost, but give us more autonomy in a sense.
The struggle is that if we get rid of the folks that are doing the contract here right now, we don't know if 9 hours with Ishmael is enough for this entire side of the building. But it's
No.
not working with this contract that we have because I feel like we're overpaying and I don't feel like the work we need to have done is necessarily being done. So I don't know. I don't think we would get rid of them because if there's nothing or there's not enough, but we definitely need a different configuration. I think we just need.
Maybe we bring them in during the day when we're here.
Yeah, you gotta bring them in, you gotta have the talk, right? This is not being done right, you gotta
Yeah.
do this better.
Well,
and,
their contract is changeable
Okay.
by duty.
Yeah.
That's the way it was done. We were kind of
Yeah.
in a bad spot when we hired these people, and this was an alternative to get us to January to look at either a part-timer or this company to do it. I mean, no cleaning at all is not the answer. We've been there.
No.
That's not a
It was
good
pretty
thing.
bad.
That was
So,
really bad.
Not going there
Um,
again.
and it is a big building. I think it's a lot to do for, the police department's 1/3 the size of
Right.
this. So
Right.
that would be a lot on him. I mean,
Right.
could he help out on this side with a few tasks to bring him? Probably so, which would be helpful. And then you're still gonna have to make that adjustment to fill that other part. So whether it be a couple different part-timers on different days, different duties, so that they can become repetitive and nothing gets missed, maybe something we want to look at.
Could we look at other adult supportive programs in the community
I
and
was
see
just
if there's other
thinking
job
about that.
coaches out
Yeah.
there? who
I
would-
think anything is a plus.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ishmael's. Yeah.
He's a job coach.
So let's do that. That's a great idea. It would be
There's-
great if we had a good fit like that.
And the hours can be based on, what people we have here, and if it's during the day when there is supervision here, or it's somebody trustworthy that can be here for an event or anything like that.
Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to pull some, we haven't done it yet because we don't have the solution in place, but hopefully we would be able to pull from that 4155 and reduce that.
Yeah.
And even though the contract is pricey, I mean, Ray went through a ton of different people, and there was a lot pricier.
I know,
contract
there
for a lot
was.
less.
It's amazing
So
how expensive it is.
This
Like,
contract is pricey, but there was several contracts we looked through, and they were all significantly more. So
Who does the elevator maintenance?
Schindler Corporation, they come in quarterly.
Oh, okay.
we'll cut that. So don't get
I
started.
think we enjoyed 2016 prices for too long. I think we were kind of sticker shock when we were forced to do another quote. And I think just the cost of doing business and cleaning became a big thing through COVID and their standards and everything. So the cost reflects that.
So you have capital project established to fund work, replace AEDs. Oh, yeah. So the AEDs is something that the safety committee, we've been working on. They age out and their pads age out and their batteries age out. So what we're trying to do is fund to replace 2 AEDs each year. And then we'll just keep doing that every year until we get them all replaced. Because it's too expensive, quite frankly, to replace them all at one time. So we're working with Charlie on that. And looking at the oldest models and starting to pull those out and buy two new ones for 2025. If there's money left at the end of 2024, I'll probably try to get 2 this year too.
Yeah, the technology gets better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Utility fees. You're gonna go there. So you want to talk about your 3-person doors in the highway garage? That's pretty important.
Where's that one? That was, I saw that.
800-5132.
Are we done with 1600?
I think so.
I
Do you
think
guys have questions on 1620
No.
shared services?
I think I don't have notes on anything else other than.
Yeah, I think we
Again,
talked about
some
the,
more.
it's really the cleaning that's annoying me in that section. It is. I don't want to spend that much money.
You don't.
I
Don't
just
say
don't. I
anybody,
feel like
no,
telling
I
my
know.
kids to come in here and clean. Like,
We already went down that. It was not good.
yeah.
We'll come up with something better.
You did the traffic control, right,
Yep.
already?
Yeah.
Okay, so just the 3 one-person doors are, just replacement of 3 steel doors, safety doors on one of our buildings at the highway department that have been, patched up, welded, and to the extent they can't be done anymore. That's where the increase in that comes from.
Are you doing this in-house or?
Yeah, we'll more than likely buy the doors. They're quite expensive, and then we'll install them in-house. I think the one time that we were in a pinch and we had them installed, the installation was as much as the doors. So we'll try to absorb that to burden, undo the burden of that cost.
Excellent.
I think everything else is pretty much good there. We doing sidewalks on safe
Yeah,
routes?
yeah. So we did not get the grant for the sidewalks that we were anticipating getting. So we will not be putting forth more matching funds in 2025. If we get the grant, we'll look at it. But as of right now, we don't have the grant.
Yeah. It would be really nice to do all the sidewalks, but it's not in the plans. So we do. So does any of the sidewalk money come out of the 4601? I forgot to ask about that. The
Yeah, the
ADA
ADA
compliance.
ADA?
I don't think we've taken anything out of there
No,
this year.
I don't think so.
Well, Laura and I had a discussion about that. She's trying to get she's doing some engineering for that. You and I have talked to her a little bit about that. And we're going to work on that. I mean,
She was going to try
Um,
to take that out of this year's though, right? Or no?
Yeah, there's
Well-
125,000 there right now for this year. And I
That-
but I think she's got some engineering going on in that line.
does, yeah.
Okay. And
I see.
we are under a certain requirement to spend some money and keep that program going.
Any improvement around town when we do roadways, we incorporate the ADA for any adjoining sidewalk or whatever. We've done that forever.
Right.
We try to make them accommodations within our purview of paving. A lot of times we don't have to touch this. We bring the road to match the sidewalk rather than to
Right.
change the sidewalk to match the road. So,
We should look at that though, because there may be some funds that we could use to do that
Right.
right.
and because
So a majority of the sidewalks in the town are on county or state roads that butt up against town roads.
Yeah.
So most of the time, the ADA work is done. Occasionally, there's a panel that's broken where we come within the town right away where it meets the state or county. So that's where that would come into play, other than new projects or upgraded projects, which is normally done through Laura's
like
office.
down on Cornelius or anyplace else.
Right. But generally speaking, when we pave a road, they match it up to existing. And normally, like I said, state and county roads, ADA has already been done. So unless there's damage, we wouldn't have to replace those panels.
So is there a chance for that one to decrease?
Was that?
4601, is there a chance for that one to decrease, or, because it
Like-
looks like it's,
I
I
think the
think-
plan was to get the engineering this year, which would be less than the 125, and then 150 would cover the project, which I thought was Palmer. Is that what she said? I
think
can't
so.
remember.
There was a couple mentioned, I don't know one specifically that they're working on the engineering, but I know there was talk of that, so.
I think Palmer was what you mentioned at the.
I think
It was
so.
last week.
I think we're actually voting on something next week about that.
We'll have to
Palmer
follow
Adams.
up with her about that.
Okay.
Parks. I think the personal services are just contractual obligations. And we added a grounds worker in 2024 that we were unable to hire so far, so we saved a little bit there, but. Seasonal's the same. I think we used a good majority of that with the summer help that we had this year. We did like the program with the retired people to come in and help us part-time as well. So both of those systems work. We found great success in both of those, so. Overtime, I think, was just bumped up a little bit because of actuals, right?
You're actually in pretty good shape this year.
Equipment, so did hand a list in of equipment. Do you have copies of them, Aaron?
I
Did you
do,
hand them
guys.
out?
So the reason.
It's not in the red book. That's
Oh,
only
okay. I do.
highway.
I have the park stuff. Yeah.
So I can go over the list quick if you want, or. So the one item in parks is a Toro Dingo. It's a new item, with a couple attachments, for tree planting, augers, forks for carrying the trees, loading levelings. We feel this would be utilized not only for parks maintenance, but also trail maintenance, within all the parks, Fieldstone, whatever. It has a small footprint. We're able to get into small areas. It has a bucket, so we're able to do like culvert repairs and stuff like that back in the trails, or just cleaning out the ditches to keep the water from running over the trail. So it's just something to, I guess, less labor intensive and probably a lot more efficient and quicker to,
So less labor hours over time.
right.
Yeah.
So, and this will also be a cross piece to help us plant trees within the right of way. So that's why this is a split between highway and parks. It'll be utilized by both departments, and I think it'll be a good addition for the work that we do.
These are the pieces of equipment that you're budgeting for. We also have some other equipment that we would be using some of your fund balance for, correct?
That's in highway.
That's in highway,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So in your parks department here, these are the pieces of equipment you feel that you need.
Right. So another is a Toro Groundsmaster to replace aging mower that we have that is very difficult to get parts. There's one vendor within the state that sells the parts. We've waited months and months for certain parts. We're finding that these parts are discontinued. So when you sideline a big mower like that, it really makes double the work on the smaller mowers and not very time efficient. These mowers are primary for field mowing and also bike path mowing, because it allows us to send like 2 people to mow the bike path from Anthony Street all the way to Lions Park in a day, rather than 4 or 5 people doing it with little mowers, taking us 3 days. So it's more time efficient. We use them on the bigger fields like Avon Crest. So you send some small mowers to do around the playground, pavilions, sports fields, and then you use the bigger mowers in the big green areas. And it matches up, and it's a time saving tool for us to get through. There's a lot of grass to mow in a week here in this town. So
you're replacing, how old is the mower you're replacing?
the mower we're replacing, I believe, is early 2000s.
Could be 20 years old.
Pretty close to.
20 years.
Yeah. And it's a Jacobson. They're hard to get parts for. We've had real good luck. We've already replaced an older Jacobson with a Toro Groundsmaster Grassland for all seasons. Always has the parts we need. We're not waiting for them. So if something goes down, we're able to get it back up and running in a short period of time. So
That
That's-
old one that's being replaced, that'd be sold or auctioned off.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the 208,000, does that anticipate any sellbacks, or is that just?
It didn't. Those are actually contract prices that we got quotes on. So you're only looking at the quotes. So I got an estimate on selling that mower. It's going to be between $5,000 and $6,000 return on the one we're selling.
So you
So-
could knock that
I
208
don't
down.
knock it off, because what I'm asking for is the actual, the old stuff can't be sold before the new is purchased. So,
No, I don't. I mean, like in the end
right,
result, eventually you're going to get some money
right.
back at the end of the day.
So I will tell you, just from our sales this year of surplus, the few items that we did sell, Parks Fund has got $16,567.50 returned to the general fund for park stuff that was sold. And the highway fund is 19,200 so far. And these are only the items that were auctioned off that were, the new equipment has already come in. You've heard me mention many times that this equipment doesn't come in, and we can't get rid of stuff before the new stuff comes in. So this numbers will, in both categories, go up when our new stuff comes in. So probably by year's end, we'll have some more money put back in both of these funds to support. I think we've done really good on the auction site. Timing is everything when you're, you don't sell a truck with a plow on it in July. You sell it now. In fact, we just sold one. The auction ended 3 days ago. That was $14,000. So for an older pickup truck with a plow. So, it rises. I think if you sold that same truck in June or July, you would probably get between $5,000 and $8,000. So that's the difference between looking at timing for these stuff is big. New Holland tractor. The tractor we have is probably late 90s. We've been using it a lot more since we've been doing our own seating on the reseating, overseating. We revamped some old equipment that we had in storage for years, and we're back to doing it ourselves. We buy the materials and we overseed and thatch these fields to bring them to where they are today.
These are sports fields, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
they have to be a certain quality level in order for the kids to
So,
play
I
with
mean,
them.
you got to think a lot of these fields have 25 years invested in them to get them to where they are. If you don't maintain them, they'll go in despair, and they'll go in despair quick. So we're using this equipment for to do our own stuff. You know, we've always been trying to save money in doing this. So, you know, we kind of try to cut out the outside vendor. We buy the materials per our bids, and we found quite a savings in doing it ourselves. And lastly was it's a stand-on plow, broom, snow blower, and calcium dispenser. So since we inherited Balton Road down by the circles, it's very hard to get down there and clear the circle and the crosswalk in the circle because it's so far away from everything we do. This unit we can put on a small trailer rather than a homeowner snowblower like we've been doing it for 3 years. And it will be more efficient, time saving, and this will also be used at our facilities as well. So it's not being bought for one specific job. It's being bought for everything that we have to maintain in a storm. So, and that's everything that brings us to that total of 237, 846, 84.
Where'd you get that number from?
Huh?
237?
They have,
237, 846,
did we,
0.84.
did we pull the
We pulled these.
sweep out?
That was out of the highway one.
Okay, I think we pulled it out of this one instead of highway, so now we've got to,
What were the two pieces of used equipment you were just buying? The sweeper and.
A sweeper and a
oh
broom.
no, the other
A
thing.
broom and a forklift. Forklift was from 2024 equipment list.
That's
It was-
this year's budget.
It was the sweeper I think we pulled out.
Yeah, the sweeper would have taken out 30,000 out of the highway fund for a new one. We bought,
That's why your number's different. Was
We-
because he told us right before we printed that he was able to find that used one. That we're voting on that purchase next.
this month,
Right.
the end of the month. So what we did essentially requested 30,000 for the cost, the contract cost of a brand new one. We bought a used one for $12,000. So it can take 30,000 off of this.
Mm.
Was there any other
What
questions?
playgrounds are going to come under that?
So playground
repairs and updates?
repairs and updates. So when I met with Beth, when we did our initial budget, this year for instance, we had a tube break at River Road Park. Okay, one of the tunnels that are on the playground. Well, that tunnel cost us $3,200 out of our operating budget and took us 3 months to get. So that line supports all your field maintenance, any upgrades to the parks. So for all the parks you have, that is not a real big number to do all your fertilization. If you're upgrading a bathroom, you know, you have to replace toilets, urinals, sinks, petitions, that all comes out of that line. So there's not a whole lot for upgrades, painting, which we like to do periodically to keep what we have looking good and upgraded and, you know, pleasurable for the public that uses them. You know, you can't just ignore the fact that, you know, the paint's falling off and everything. You have to try to do it the best you can. And this line is the only line that supports, but it supports all parks. So the number isn't that big. If you went on a campaign and went and painted most pavilions, you'd be out of money. So, you know, we try to pick a project a year and try to do a facelift. So
I think we also had sticker shock over that playground equipment. I couldn't believe how expensive it was.
and I talked about too, we're having a real struggle with the 25-plus-year-old cedar fencing we have around the parks. I mean, any park you go to, rails are knocked down. I mean, we're constantly picking them up, nailing them back up, but they're beyond their lifespan. When we did Avon Crest Park, we put concrete blocks there instead of fencing. So it actually was cheaper than replacing the fencing. So, and you'll see that in a lot of different parks in different towns in different counties. I stop at a lot of different ones as I'm out and about, and, you know, rocks or concrete barriers are becoming the way that they're doing it. So.
Ray, do you have the pool repairs under a line under highway?
No, pool repairs stays within its own. The pool is its own separate line.
Yeah.
Which would be Lori's.
Oh, I thought she
Oh.
told me it was under highway.
Yeah.
So,
He can speak to about the repair.
yeah, I can speak to you about the repairs, but
Was that under building? Is that why?
no, it's under,
No.
pool is its own separate.
7180?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. Sorry. Oh, I guess we did talk about it a little bit, just not.
What page is that? Pool?
I have different pages in here, so
Oh.
I can't give you a page number.
Nobody's on
For
this.
us,
71.
maybe
What?
7 or 9. It's page 8 for us, so maybe 7 or 9. 7 or 9.
000.
Or 10.
Not even on the same page.
I guess I'm just wondering in general, like, are you called a lot to fix?
Charlie does. Charlie actually spends his time card every 2 weeks when I sign it. It's almost, when the pool's open, it's almost 7 days a week for him, for one thing or another, whether it be a chlorine or pump issue or a loose coping. The pool is very high maintenance. It's aged out. And, you know, even just the preparation to get that open. I mean, him and Ronnie they're there every single, you can essentially say that they go there every single day from the time that they start prepping it to the time that they close it. Part of their day is, both of them are dedicated to going down to that pool, fixing something, adjusting something. You know, Charlie's done a magnificent job. He built all the baffles and everything for the chlorine to simplify it because, again, parts are outdated. I mean, that pool's quite old. I can't tell you the date of it, but I know it's old. But he's pretty much revamped all that on his own.
Okay.
And, you know, bubble gum and toothpaste holding it together, to be honest with you.
Is that in a budget line for the bubble gum?
Yeah,
Bubblegum line right here.
No.
yeah,
All right. No, I heard a lot of time and effort was getting put into it, so I was just wondering.
yeah. You can almost say that it's hours out of their day every single day from the time they start prepping till the time they lock the doors for the winter. They're down there every day.
So before we leave parks, I just want to say that dog waste removal, I feel like we need to give him a little more money in that line. The contract goes up every August by about $3, and we're already at 85% of the year, and we're not 85% of the year. We're at 85% of his budget already. So I think maybe bring it up to 600. It's not a lot, but I think it'll get him through, because I'm guessing it'll go up to about $45 again in August. Yeah, and we transferred money in already.
Yeah,
so-
already we have, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need to really just look
It's
at
like
that
the
line.
things you don't think about, really. Dog waste removal. It's Park 7110, and then it's 4610, the last one.
Where do they remove that to?
It's
I don't know,
they
as long
put
as they don't bring it here.
Yard.
We struggled to find somebody that would actually accept it.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, well, it's only a roll-off can down there for them to put their bags in, so we had to do a lot of negotiating to get them to do that, so.
Interesting.
All right, the highway.
Huh? On the highway?
I
Highway
think I
or
have a tab
motorway?
in there for highway. Blue should bring you to it, hopefully.
No, we're on to yard waste, aren't we?
Oh, did I skip yard waste? My bad.
Did we skip yard waste?
Yeah,
In
my
there?
bad.
No, we didn't. She did.
There it is.
Oh,
So I think the largest one you're gonna see here is equipment maintenance. The largest increase, so, what we have found is leaf machine parts for the vacuums. It's on average of about $10,000 a machine just to revamp them every year. That's liners, tubes, and that we used to do all three for $8.
oh, geez, really?
It has
Yeah.
to be done every year.
Huh?
It has to be done every year.
Every year, and that's with no extra parts. Is 10,000. That's just for them to be pulled out on day one. We always try to keep an extra impeller. We try to actually keep a setup because they're all the same machine. So we try to keep an impeller, shields, and spare tubes on the shelf. Because if one rips or one breaks, which they do periodically, you suck up a rock that somebody has a landscaping rock underneath their leaves, and it goes through there, it destroys it. And they have to stay and fix it so that it can go out the next morning. So we got to have parts on the shelf. We generally try to keep one set up, which can be used on any machine but just the cost of that has gone through the roof.
And that's the parts we do the maintenance.
That's just the parts, and we rebuild them, and we've actually the impellers shields, which has a liner in it that you have to cut out every year with torches and weld a new liner back in. We actually the mechanics went to a steel company and upgraded to steel. They put Hardox in them because the liners normally are wearing thin about 3/4 of the way through the year. We actually got through a full year last year, and we didn't have to replace them until this upcoming year. So that's a big savings right there, and big savings in downtime, welding, just to keep things rolling. So the other increase in there, one tire for a garbage truck is $900. So, 6 tires per garbage truck, 3 garbage trucks on the road. So even if you don't have a blowout, you can almost guarantee you're going to replace a set of tires a year for the amount of miles. We got 100 center line miles of road, so that's 200. If you go both ways, which they have to pick up the garbage, that's 200 miles a week plus for going to the dump. So that's just wear and tear. So that we can't control the cost of the tires. We get them on state contract, so they're relatively cheaper than probably a trucker can go buy them for. So it just, again, the cost of doing business.
What's tipping fees?
Tipping fee?
Yeah, tipping fees,
Oh.
roadside, 4025.
Yeah, we just hang a cup on the side of the truck.
Tips, yeah.
If you like our service. Tipping fee is what the fees that are raised to recycle the product that we bring in.
Mm.
So we have to pay to grind the product and make it usable. So that tipping fees is what covers the grinding and removal of yard waste that we haul in over the year. On to shade trees.
Yes, and just to highlight, I did a separate breakdown of the expenses for yard waste removal so that we had a good picture about what this looks like. This was where we were targeting maybe some code changes so that we could get some of these costs down rather than increase the fee. We'll kind of tackle it from the other end. So some of that will be overtime and labor expenses, and then maybe some information, like you're saying this about the rocks. I don't even think about those things. So
Yeah.
maybe we need some informational, like, help us keep these costs down, please.
Yeah, and I don't think, a lot of people think of that. They
Yeah.
have them there to keep cars off their lawn, and when they rake, it's usually the only area they have to rake their leaves, and,
Yeah.
they know they're there. We don't, so.
Flag or something. Beware of.
So shade trees dropped a little bit in the planning program. And a little bit in the replacement tree program. The reason you see the miscellaneous contractual stay the same is miscellaneous contractual we use for trees that are too large for our equipment to remove, backyard trees where we don't have access, where a private tree company can get permission and go through a resident's yard to remove these things. And we found more and more of that backyard or inaccessible areas that we're having to use these contractors to either use a crane or, a climber, and
It's expensive.
that's beyond our control for us to be able to get in there. And, the average price is anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 to get a tree taken down. If they got to bring in a crane,
Yeah, we just
It's
talked
even-
about one that was like.
it's even a little
6,000,
more.
right? That one in the back of that house was like $6,000.
yeah,
I can't believe how expensive that is.
and that was the lowest cost.
Yeah.
They went all the way up to like 8,500 on that one. So it's a costly thing. We can't. So that's why that was left the same. And a slight savings due to, we're asked to cut in areas, a lot of lines, we cut some stuff to keep the numbers down. That's what we did through the process, so.
Are we
Yeah.
jumping to highway now?
onto highway. — 5110 general repairs. Overtime is based on actuals, right, Jenna? Slight decrease in patching mix.
I did want to mention also, for those of you not, we have notes on ours, but for personal services in the 5110, you'll see an increase year over year, huge increase. That's just from us allocating the work in different budget lines differently. So you'll see a decrease in another one, just in case you were wondering about that. 17. You should, hopefully that green tab or the blue tab on the side should bring you right to it.
So just a slight decrease in patching mix. That's based on what we use on average. So personal permanent improvements. Personal services done to what Aaron just said, allocations, moving people
To the correct
from
spot.
one
We
line
just want to
to-
make sure we're marking the work where it belongs. So.
and that's done by tracking, where they're doing their most work, right?
I had a question about 4126 because we looked at that. Do you usually buy your limestone like right before the end of the year?
I try to.
Okay. Because we didn't have a ton in there. What did we have?
Limestone, I extinguished this year already.
Yes. Okay. That is being purchased for the following year.
It's for stock.
Okay.
It's for projects. We don't. So what we normally do is we have a stockpile that we work out of, and then we replenish the pile so that we always have materials to work with for various projects.
Okay. And did that jump up in price? Because we have it at the same and I think we're already over budget on that, right?
You would have to move 5 grand into it.
Yeah.
already, 'cause we
So
might-
we probably are
we
good
were-
with it. So should we add more than 10? Are we expecting it to be more than that next year?
No,
Okay.
we should be good.
Okay.
But if you look traditionally, if you look way back in the budget, it was quite a bit more. We've
Oh, was
weaned
it?
down.
Oh, okay. So
You know what I
purchased
mean? It's
small
come down
pills.
over the
Okay.
years
Right.
softly. So another one you'll see, 4124 emulsionum calcium chloride. This line is for a certain type of paving when you do total reconstruction. We haven't done total reconstruction in a number of years, so we returned that. We returned some money back, and what we did was we used the other part of that to keep. I thought it was important to keep the paving budget at 525. And that's due to the number of miles of paving that we're doing to better our neighborhoods and stuff like that. So, 525, the price was as much as almost $8 more a ton than our bid price because we have a fluctuation in there. So we get a discount when oil's down. We have to pay a little more when oil's up. So this year, we enjoyed many years of paying less and we were able to do more miles of road. This year, we had to pay a little more and just do a little less roads, but we'd like to stay consistent with the 525 in that, just to stay on the schedule that we're at for paving the roads. we have to stay on that cycle to complete all the roads in the town before they expire. You know, life expectancy is 20 to 25 years for a paved road, and that's dependent on traffic as well. So, but we always try to, address the ones. We use the Cornell's local roads program to tell us what roads that we're paving. It's not just pick a road out of a hat. We use a formulated program that we've used forever, and roads are graded. And different treatments are actually what, some are total rehab, some are just a facelift, some are to get you 10 to 15 more years out of. So that's where the misconception with a lot of people, when they see us paving a street and they come over and say, my street is much worse than this street is, where that street may be so far gone that it falls into the reconstruction category, which is more intensive, more expensive, and a different type of paving. So in one respect, you can understand them being upset that my road was worse than this, but when you take this road and you can make it last another 20 years for a lower price, that's how that program works. It gives you the best amount of roads for the money. So, and a good portion of that 525 is reimbursed by CHIPS. I think a little over 200,000, right, Janet?
I think you got more than that this year.
Yeah, I think a little more. They had some other pothole incentive programs for the state offered through the CHIPS. So we were able to,
$200,574.75.
so a good majority of that, over 300,000 worth, comes back and gets put into that fund. So, and that's a good, healthy budget to maintain where we're at, the 20-25 year cycle.
So you say when you do a new road, it's life expectancy is 20, 25 years?
On an average traveled road,
Yeah.
your collector streets, your Rose Hills,
That's with maintenance though, right?
that's with maintenance, that's with crack sealing, that's with periodically patching. If you start to develop, that all falls into play. Traffic is a big one. One garbage truck going down the road is equivalent to 10,000 passenger cars, the damage it does to the road.
Oh my goodness.
So that's their data, not mine. So
Phew.
how many garbage trucks and buses you see in a day?
Yeah.
They take a beating. I think everything else is pretty much the same from last year.
So I have a question about rental of machinery, because I have to try to take something back, right?
The
Otherwise I'm
what?
not doing my job. Rental of machinery under the 5112. If we're buying the sweeper, why do we need to have money to rent a sweeper?
Well, that's not only the sweeper.
It is so far.
What are we up to this year?
$12,816.
And that's only the sweeper?
That's only the sweeper. Let me look at last year.
Do you rent anything else?
We do periodically.
Do we have any idea what that? Oh, like as it's an as needed. So we should leave
Yeah.
something in there.
Leave something in there, but I don't think we need to leave all of it in there. I think that'll help offset some of the other stuff.
Yeah, it was.
He did run an
Yeah,
excavator
it was
last
only
year.
25,000 2 years ago. So yeah, why don't you take the rest to me?
Okay, thanks.
I would leave something in there.
I would. Could we
5,
bring
6.
it down to 10?
Yeah, let's leave it at. We'll
Thank
drop
you.
it at 10.
Thanks for giving back. We appreciate it.
Thanks for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
Janet's not gonna miss it. She's not gonna miss much.
I let you get through almost everything without saying anything, so you're in good shape.
Yeah. I'll put a little gold star next to it for you.
Appreciate it.
Don't ask for nothing. I don't have the money.
So I think, Ray, I put the note here that I removed the broom, but I think I actually removed the actual money from parks and just put the note next to equipment. And you have 889 for your total, right? Is that what we had? And I have
889,
893.
891.50.
50 cents.
And you're
Okay.
gonna back out 30,000 off of that.
Yeah, except I took it out of the parks one, so I need to swap those.
Yeah.
Because that sweeper isn't parks, which
Yeah.
is good to know. That one is the 2000 line. And
You,
this-
you have it written in the right one here.
I had it written in the right one, and then I must have been like talking about something, and I pulled it out of parks instead. Or maybe we were talking about what the sweeper was because we thought it was one thing and it really actually wasn't. So either way, I got to move that from parks into highway.
There you go, you just got your money back.
Huh?
There you go, you just got your money back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So you'll make those adjustments?
Yeah, I can do that.
So do you want to go through that equipment list?
Yeah, so this packet that Ray prepared for us, I don't have any context for this equipment, and I don't know how many of you do, but I thought it might be helpful for us to see what's being replaced, why it's being replaced, how long it's been since it's been replaced. And I'm sure Ray has some great stories about the way that they've had to create their own solutions for
Yeah.
fixing these things over the years.
Can't believe how much they kill us for these old parts on these older.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, and you've been making them, right? Is
we've
that what
been, we make a lot of them. We fabricate them.
Yeah, wow.
So with the excavator, it's a 1998 excavator. We bought it in 2003, used. It's done us, it owes us nothing. It really has done a lot between road reconstruction, drainage culverts, backyard drainage, deep road drainage. So this has been on our list for a while. Last year I was asked to defer it to this year, to keep our numbers down. So, you know, we got 21 years out of a used machine. You know, if you buy this thing, you're gonna get 25, 30 years out of it. You know, I certainly won't be asking you for another one. Huh?
No, this is for a new one, right?
No, this is a new one, off-state contract.
He does have some pictures of what the
Yep.
yeah, and the parts are increasingly expensive. He has to, he takes people that should be working on highway projects and now they're working on fixing equipment instead of that. So it's costly to keep repairing. It's the same with like your used car versus your new car. You're gonna pay for it either way, whether
And-
it's through it breaking down or
So the two big items that I have in this booklet are for infrastructure. And that's their main purpose. This is, you know, all the projects that the town has done. This is a difference between us having to subcontract it out, pay prevailing wage, go out to bid, time consuming. This allows us to do our work in-house. I'm a big advocate for trying to do our work in-house, so that's why the need is for this equipment. So I'll just give you, for instance, the second picture there where the bucket is off the machine. So we got a price to replace the pins because the buckets are banging and, you know, ultimately become unsafe, working around people, the pin breaks or whatever. So we got a bill of, we got an estimate of about $12,000. The pins are $4,000 alone. You got to have it re-welded, bored out, and replaced. So I'll give you another, for instance. Matt just had a final drive go on his. The estimate was like $18,000. So we could put $12,000 in this. It's still worth $12,000 when we go to sell it. It's and you know, you go repin this and put the bucket on. The final drives are weak. That was another why we're asking for this. They're getting weak when you get in the mud. You got to pull yourself out with the boom. So,
I also was curious, like, what are we digging?
and
So he did show me some pictures of, we have our storm basins. Many of them are very old and are deteriorating. And when they have to dig them up, sometimes they're 10, 12, 14 feet down and they would have to either rent equipment or get somebody to do the work. So
And this is, for the same size machine is probably, I want to say between $5,000 and $7,000 a week to rent this with our operator. So, and if you can get one, construction season, you'd be lucky to get one. So, it essentially just allows us to continue to do what we've been doing. So
Which in the long term saves money.
it does. And it gives you, emergency, when you have to do emergency work, everybody's looking for the same thing. We've always had the ability to be able to do our own, and I'd like to continue that if we can. Second item. So we expect estimated price on return on this one, if we sold it without redoing the bucket, we should get between $10,000 and $12,000 is our by market value, what we researched on
And
Auctions
even if
Internet.
we do the bucket, you still only get 10 or 12,000.
Yeah, you wouldn't get any extra for it.
I know.
Crazy.
You're lucky you're not paying by the pound now, because then it would be expensive.
Well,
Um,
you were
I-
also saying water and sewer would be able to borrow the equipment.
Absolutely. So this is a larger machine than water and sewer has. So if we ever got in another, like when we did the Big Dig, we had our equipment over there as well.
Yeah.
So it's across all public works departments that we have the ability to do things that we would obviously have to subcontract out. So it'll help ease that burden in an emergency situation or in a plant situation. So it's not a duplicate, it's a bigger one, so it would coincide with that department as well.
You have the trailer to haul this?
Yes, we do.
Oh, that was a good question. I didn't even see that.
The second one is a 2003 Finn hydro seeder. This has been through it's been rehabbed 2 times. We re-welded all the seams on the sides. We replaced the top on it with an aluminum top. We upgraded it in-house. Fabricators did all this work to this. It's been through the paint shop twice. So fertilizer is very corrosive. We replaced the piping. So there's piping internally, externally. So, I mean, we still use it. You do it on projects. It's used every year to replant all the seed along the roads that we pave. So it gets used every single year. It's working now.
Okay.
I don't know.
We still have Public Works, so I don't mean to rush you through, but I want to make sure you have a chance to talk about the
Okay.
back truck too.
Well, I gave the book if anybody.
I know. I thought this was.
The
so
one
great.
thing I do want to touch on, Aaron, though, is the vac truck.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to have time to
Okay.
say a little something.
So the vac truck it's not for leaf pickup. The vac truck is for infrastructure, drain lines. It's very crucial for our data for the MS4, which Matt's been informing me is now going to be requiring more data from us and more attention to our detention ponds, our drainage, tracking of stormwater. This truck, when we pave a road, when I always say that we go through our infrastructure, check all our drainage, check all that, this is the vehicle that we use to do that. This is the vehicle we use to locate utilities in the road, far more efficient than trying to shovel every gas line on a street to do work. So it gets used a lot. It's a very well-utilized piece of equipment. And again, it's a specialty truck, so that's why you see the price on it. This current truck we have, you know, we built parts on this. These tanks on the side, the aluminum tanks that carry the water. When we come down the road, we look like a sprinkler. The water's just leaking out the sides. We can't get the tanks. We would have to have them custom made. I think somewhere around the price tag of $15,000 for a 2007 truck with one. This is a Sterling chassis. Sterling stopped making trucks about 10 years ago. Parts are very hard to find for a Sterling. But the cabin chassis isn't the only problem with this. It's the rear unit, the specialty unit. We've built all kinds of parts for this because they're hard to get. They're expensive. All the elbows up on the top, as you see, you know, it leaks from almost every orifice on this thing. Mud and.
Did we buy that one used or new? The
We
ones-
bought this one new.
So they don't last very long, like
Well,
15-ish?
It does a lot of work. It has a lot of hours on it.
Yeah, yeah.
2007 truck till now is quite old for the amount of work it does.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's doing a lot of gross work too. I like this one with the leaking pipe. It's a nice one.
Right, it sounds like this vehicle protects people's homes by making sure those roads are not gonna get swamped and overrun with.
Right. So
drainage
when
issues.
we get them calls of flooding intersections, we have our ones that we deal with, you know, all the time. This is what opens them up to relieve the pressure from the drainage. Like I say, it also keeps our infrastructure in check.
Yeah, it
We try
prevents
to
it
do,
too, right? Like you can tell before
yeah,
you finish the job that.
we try to do routine maintenance with it and try to do a neighborhood a year just to go through. This is what will identify a sink, prevent a sinkhole from happening in a road, prevent future clogs. I mean, look at the whirlybirds that fall on the road. When the rain comes, they go right in our pipes. So, you know, it's big in
Yeah.
keeping up with the demand that it's required to do.
Is that the average lifespan that we got out of this, or is it more? 15, we got about 15, 17 years?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say that. But then again, you may get, the technology is a lot better now. So, you know, you may get more out of another one. So, you know, with every,
Based on usage though.
based on
And what it's
usage,
Sucking up.
right.
Yeah.
Everything's abrasive that goes through it.
Yeah.
So, and that's not only a vacuum, that's a jet as well. So it has a torpedo head that goes up the pipes and knocks debris out of pipes. So, you know, that it could be a lot. We don't have a camera on this, so that's an expense that we deferred. We don't, you know, so we collaborate with Matt on that. So we utilize what they have.
Next year, do you foresee equipment that needs to be replaced, or is this like?
So we're in pretty good
Right,
shape.
right.
We did the board knows, we've done we've replaced almost every plow truck in the last 10 years. So, you know, plow trucks now are $350,000 for an equipped plow truck. We're still waiting on one from over a year ago, but that will make the whole fleet within 10 years old. So, you know, you're looking at 5 to 8 years before you even have to look at replacing one of them. So you'll get on the big items, you know, we have a newer dozer, we have a newer backhoe. So this is the last of the big iron items. I think we're in good shape there. So, you know, you'll get your small 1-ton dumps and pickups and incidentals if something goes bad. So I think your big burdens, this will be the last of your large burdens. And you know, as I always say, it takes us almost a year to get this stuff. So to kick the can down the road, that makes it 2 more years. So it's important. It's my recommendation that we go this way. Been working on this for a while, with Beth. Unfortunately, she's not here, but, she said this would be the year to make this happen. So I can only go with the advice I was given. So those are my recommendations. And my last one is snow removal. I think we took a little bit out on salt. And personal services was relocate. So we took a hit. Almost every line here except for sand. A little increase in telephone and insurance. But those are Janet, so she just takes my money and pays her bills.
She pays your bills.
Yeah, pays my bills with my money. Shell game. Any questions for me?
No, thank you, Ray.
Thank you for your time. Sorry it took too long.
No.
So do the figures in this budget adequately provide for your department for the coming year?
Well, get us started, Bill. No, I think it was well thought out. I think the changes that were made were all in good feeling. So I think we'll be fine. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Aaron, do you mind if we let the judges go instead of having them sit through Public Works?
I was just gonna say that,
Thanks.
just in case. Do you want to come up now? That might be a little. I'm assuming you're gonna be a lot
long. I don't want
quicker.
you to have to sit there all night.
I mean, in fairness, I've had to wait for a lot of judges. So, I mean, it's kind of nice.
I thought you were saving the best for last. That's usually how this works.
The finale.
You want to be here until 9:30, 10 o'clock? No.
I do not.
What, we're gonna be here until 9:30?
I hope not, but we still have Public Works. Revenue shouldn't be terrible.
I don't imagine you do either.
No, we've done that
Alex on
enough.
this
Thank you. Yours is pretty quick, so I didn't want to make you sit there all that time.
Appreciate it.
I think we stayed away from one you had, the first,
This should be the front page.
your first.
Page 1.
This is generally a pretty straightforward budget.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yes.
Way too many zeros there, Janet.
Are you leaving?
As long as you're adding them to the
No,
judge's
they were on
salary
the front
line.
side. That didn't help.
So what do you want to know?
How's our court system doing?
Ours or bigger picture?
Ours.
Ours is doing just fine.
I still think we need to look at court police overtime again.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's one that, number one, we don't have a lot of control over,
No,
but it's
correct.
probably somewhat offset. The reason the police overtime is up is because we're spending more time in court, because we have a lot more tickets. So, no, I'm just pointing out, I mean, the more tickets you write, the more people come into court, the longer it takes to actually get through them. So 2022, we had 1,252 tickets written. Last year, we had 2,074. So far this year, we have 3,494. So we're going to be about double last year, which was about double the year before.
We have a traffic
Um,
division.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
Well, I think it is
Yeah.
if you task the officers with writing more tickets. There's no shortage of bad drivers.
Yes.
So
Just ask my kids.
yes, it's.
Still dealing with, like COVID evictions and stuff too?
The COVID evictions have dropped off. The ERAP money that the state had to pay past rent is gone. We still obviously have, some level of evictions and stuff, but the civil cases are actually down. They're the only thing that's down from last year. And last year it was still artificially boosted from the COVID eviction pause button. Yeah, so
the numbers I've got, the actual in 2023 for police overtime was 26,000. That was, we did have a lot more COVID cases, civil cases going to trial. This year's adopted was 21, but I know,
We're over.
right, because
Yeah.
Beth, it's at 28 already?
Yeah.
Almost.
So maybe like 32, 33.
Yeah, I would say at least.
Like I said, unfortunately, that's not one that we really have any control over.
No.
I know.
We schedule. Judge Scagnelli's got a jury trial started today. So, you know, that's another one. If we have a lot of trials, we have more officers. We've added bus patrol now to our traffic trial days. So that adds about 3 hours to,
Once a month or twice?
it's twice about every 6 weeks
Okay.
is the way
Oh,
it runs out. So I've got my next one like on November 4th.
People are coming in arguing those?
yeah.
Yes, about, I would say roughly 10%. So they issue about 300 of those summonses a month. Most people, if you follow the link and you go online and you watch the video,
That's right.
there's not a lot to say. It's a video. And the action is against the registered owner of the vehicle, not the driver. So people get it and they realize their kid or their spouse is the one doing it. And they come in and argue that, but it doesn't make any difference. We also get a lot of them on Route 7 where it's 4 lanes and people say, why do I have to stop when it's 4 lanes? Like, well, because the statute says you do. That's
right.
But they have the right to the hearing, so they do come in and we get like I said, roughly 10% of the people contest it. But that's town attorney prosecutes those, not the DA. So we have a 3-hour session with the town attorney, and then we do traffic trials with the DA.
And those are, they don't go, there's no points associated with them because they're on camera, just fine based.
There's no points, and and there's no plea bargaining on it.
Right.
Which may be another reason that you only get about 10% contesting it. There's no offer that can be made by statute.
Mhm.
You can't negotiate it down. It's a $250 fine. I think it goes up if you have another one within a year. I've only got one person so far that's got more than one in a year, but yeah. So, and those numbers are not reflected in the vehicle and traffic numbers that I gave because those all run through bus patrol. It's a whole separate system. So the 3494 tickets, that's Niskayuna PD written tickets.
And if the registered owner of the car appears in court, even though you can't see who's driving it, he still has to pay the fine. Yes?
Yeah. It's like the red light tickets they've got down in Albany.
Yes.
It's, you just get the thing in the mail, you go online, you watch the video, it's like, oh, yeah.
Have you dismissed any of them? Have any of them come back to being dismissed?
I have dismissed a number of them, where, but again, it's very situation specific.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure.
Bus driver doesn't put the yellow lights on, goes right from driving to red. I don't find liability in cases like that. There was another one where we had 2 buses. One was actually blocking the view of the other one and didn't put on its lights, which they're supposed to do. I dismissed those. But that's not most of them. Most of them are
Yeah, people flying right.
pretty egregious.
I'm like amazed at how many people do that.
Yes.
Wild.
Like,
Troy
I understand-
Road.
I
Troy Road.
understand the 4-lane one, because a lot of people probably just don't know, right? 'Cause you
And
can't
they don't pay
cross.
attention to what's happening way
Yeah.
over there,
Yeah.
Or even Grand Boulevard, you know, because they're so far apart.
right? The technology is actually very good
Yeah.
on the buses, though. I mean, the camera's really pretty good.
All right, let's get back to your budget
Yeah.
there, Judge.
So that's just, like I said, a partial explanation as to why our OT is where it is.
33, you think?
It's also somewhat dependent on like what you guys negotiate in terms of contracts with the officers.
Yeah.
Because we pay
Well, I think we factored that
their
in.
rate, which we don't control, so.
I think we'll be okay, like 32-ish.
Okay.
Let's go up to your full-time, those are your clerks, right?
Yeah, that's,
So 22 was 163, 23 was 127. In 24, we had 195, and in 2025, we've got 203.
We went from 2 full-time to 3 and got rid of the part-time clerks. So we consolidated. That's why the number went up, like in 2024.
And weren't you doing that sort of anticipating in some respects retirements and things like that?
We had 2 retirements, so our 2 longtime clerks, Barb Pigeon and Carol Connor, retired within like a year of one another. So our long-term part-time clerk, Kelly Wetzel, became full-time. We hired a second full-time, Lisa Serrata. And then rather than trying to train 2 new part-time clerks, which is slow and inefficient because they're only here part-time and they're also pulling away our full-time clerks to train them, we consolidated the 2 part-time clerk positions into 1 full-time clerk. So now we have 3 full-time. So that's why that number is high. And that's also why the part-time clerk line is now 0.
And since they're newer, they are back on steps where the people that retired were maxed out.
Right.
So you were only seeing a COLA for them.
Mhm.
Now these 3 people are back on steps and COLA.
Yeah, so that's why it's up 10 grand or so, because I got 3 on the step system. But those are the only 2 lines I think we're looking to increase. The only other thing I'll note on there, because we budgeted 0 for equipment, I did put in the JCAP grant. Fingers crossed. It's like $4,500 to replace our copier, which I'm told is nearing end of life in terms of number of copies. It's supposed to be like 300,000. We're at 290,000, and there are no parts for it anymore. So if we don't get the grant and that blows up, obviously we're going to need another.
You'll be
So
back here
across-
asking for a copier.
Yes.
That was our special meeting last week, was that grant.
And we were holding off. We were trying to get an estimate for some, to do the rest of the glasswork in the door. But we didn't get the estimate in time. That's why we were late putting in the
Oh.
grant.
Okay. When do you find out?
I think December.
Oh,
And
of
then-
course. Why not right at the end of the year?
But I don't think the money starts coming in until March-ish next year.
Okay. Any other questions?
The figures in this budget adequately provide for your department for the next year.
With a footnote about the JCAP grant and my copier.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair
And the question mark on police overtime.
Yeah, we said 32.
We're gonna move that up.
Yeah, we're gonna move that up.
Pretty much all stuff out of your control.
Yeah, and there isn't, once you get past the salaries, which I'm lumping in police overtime in there, my budget is $5,100. So there's not a lot there.
I don't know. I'm getting a little crazy at the end of the night here. Okay. I think we're good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
So we have left, Matt. No, I feel like we should probably talk about revenues and stuff.
First,
Yeah, I just don't feel like we really need to keep everybody here all night to go over every revenue line. We can digest
right,
it,
okay.
send
You guys
something
want
out
to
the
flip to
board.
revenues?
We'll get Matt done and
Let's go, it's page 13.
We're not doing Matt now?
yeah, we'll do Matt.
Well,
now.
we could do, you want to do Matt now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you. Oh, I see.
Yeah, I
it.
think,
Thank
because
you.
we
I
didn't
I
get that
totally
far, right? We
misunderstood.
didn't even get through all of this with us. so
No,
let's
we didn't.
See what he has to say.
Yeah.
I think Bill's got a cramp. You got a leg cramp? Okay. Aaron, can we take like 5 minutes and let
Is that all right? Just because it's been a,
2.5
haul.
hours?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We are starting on 21. Oh,
Just
yes.
try to touch on the stuff that, there's notes to, or that you have a discrepancy. We don't have to go down every line.
Okay.
I mean, most of them are, a lot of them are the same.
Yeah, yeah. So
5 minutes.
I'll go like that, right? Right through it?
Quick like a bunny.
So which one are they using for pages?
I have different pages and you
I've got three
do. I have
different
a working budget.
versions.
You're gonna start at,
Engineering,
yeah, I don't even have your 1490 in here. Where is that?
1440.
1440.
Yep.
Hey, shoot, where did that go? Pages are all
It's
messed
just
up.
me
I think
anyway
that
now.
everybody
Well,
else-
Cameron and I.
Well, what the heck? I don't even see it.
Board meetings should be at the table every time. It's much more comfortable. You don't feel like you have your back to the world too.
I didn't even see your 1440. I don't know what happened to it. It's probably in here somewhere. I don't see engineering for Matt. Do you have engineering for Matt? A001440?
Yeah, I have a copy here if you want to see it.
I'll just pull it up on the computer. There's not that much in there, right?
No.
It's okay.
I just started with the sewer water stuff. You want me to run? Won't take a second.
There's not that much here.
And it's, I think $25 each time after that.
Are we live right now?
Hmm?
Are we still live?
Probably.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't say on there.
No.
That's okay. Do we have it here?
Yeah, the actual we have, I just ran it to it. I forgot.
Do we need Josh to start the camera again? I think he did. It doesn't say on air, right?
The on air hasn't been working. Josh, is the camera still on? I don't think he stopped it. I think we might be okay. You left the cameras on, yeah? Or did you stop them? They're on. Okay, we're good. Okay, start on page 21 with sewer 1.
No,
Actually,
Or
Engineering.
no, I'm
Engineering.
sorry, I forgot engineering. How could I? Page 3. Page
Three.
3 for engineering.
Top of the page. Page 3.
Ready? So not much has changed from year to year in engineering. It's primarily the cost for myself, a portion of my salary and the engineering tech and the senior engineer, which currently is empty right now. And then just the portion for the either the equipment or the materials that we use for that portion of stormwater and other engineering activities that support water and sewer. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. Let's see, so the next one would be transfer station. So there is a large reduction in the transfer station budget. It's the intent
Page is that?
that's mine 15. Well,
Yeah, page, I think we're on page 10.
Thank you.
so it's reduced with a plan to close the facility in March at the end of this current year for the permit. It just wasn't keeping up with the costs. The biggest killer, I think, was the transportation or the hauling costs for the material that we collected. We tried everything we could. We reduced it from some days in the past, we would have 3 people working for the entire time that it was open, down to just 1 person. And Gary's been great, but unfortunately, the numbers of people using it have dropped off over the years. More services are available for curbside pickup at homes now. Recycling is much more common than it was when the transfer station first opened. So we're fighting all those different issues, and we've been losing money, and I think it's just time to unfortunately cut our losses at this point. Any questions? Nope. Okay. The next one would be landfill maintenance, which is on the next page. I think for you guys. Yes. So this primarily covers the annual cost to maintain the existing closed landfill. We have to do monitoring of the groundwater around the site as part of our closure permit. That has been slowly going up over the last few years, but we've been able to do multi-year contracts, keep the cost down. The initial proposal was to have funded at $5,000, but I just received the last proposal today for this year and then the next 3 years. And the lowest one's going to be $6,675.
This one is for what?
It's the laboratories line,
So we need to change that to, what'd you say, 62?
6675. And then the next few years that will go down because of the type of sampling that we have to do is only every 5 years. We have to do a little bit more expensive sampling, and that's this year.
You know, we're going to ask about pig line, right?
Hmm?
You know, we're going to ask about
Yeah.
pig line.
So I had it on there for the last couple of years. Probably about 10 years ago, we paid a company to do ice pigging, which is a process where you use like a slurry, like almost like a slushy, and you force it through the line that goes from the pump station that collects the leachate that leaches from the bottom of the landfill into the sewer system for proper disposal. Over time, that builds up a lining on the inside of the pipe. So traditional pigging uses little foam, and there's the history of pigging comes from the oil and gas industry. They force basically foam plugs through the line, it scours the inside of the pipe, and apparently they squeal. So that's where the oil workers came up with the term pigging. So
glad there's a funny explanation.
So we did ice picking about 10 years ago. It worked really well, but the company that did that stopped using the small truck that they had, and now they only do large pigging operations. And for us, for the size of our pump station, it doesn't support bringing a full-size truck in and doing that work. So we're looking at doing just traditional pigging, which would just use the foam inserts to clean the line. Because over time, the pumps they have to work harder, we use more electricity, and over time you lose the efficiency of the.
Squeal with the phone?
I've never listened.
Yeah.
The ice didn't, maybe with the foam. But
How often are you supposed to do this? Because it looks like we haven't done it, right?
we were watching it, the performance of the pumps sort of plateaued and started going back down a little bit. So it's time. The sooner we do it, the more we'll benefit from the energy savings. It's not as if it's going to be catastrophic if we don't do it immediately, but we'll save on it over time.
Are you putting that out to bid?
It depends on the cost. The amount that we think it's going to be would not require sealed bids, multiple quotes.
Okay.
We had even thought about doing something in-house, but my partner in crime that was going to do that with me is no longer here. So we're not going to do that right now.
So wait, there's something that could wait a year, technically.
I'd like to have it in the line. I may not use it. But if we had to, we'd like to have it available. The problem with the leachate pump station and the landfill maintenance line, it's not very big. And so if we lose one pump down at the pump station, that could deplete the entire amount of money that was budgeted for the whole year for that line. So we always carry some money in there just in case something were to go south with one of the pumps, which they have in the past. So otherwise, there's really nowhere to pull the money from if we had to do that work.
Well, right now we got that in there for 20,000.
For pigging, yes. Yeah. That's on the low end.
Hmm.
So that's why I want to make sure it's absolutely necessary.
Okay.
Let's see, the next would be a sewer one, which I have on page 27, but
You guys are on 21.
21, yeah. Much of the sewer one budget is taken up by the cost to dispose of the sewage that we collect with the city of Schenectady. But there are other smaller costs that are associated with the maintenance of our own lines in that district. And we do have one sewer pump station that also needs maintenance and repair. They're pretty flat. The lines haven't changed all that much. There is some change in the postage line because we are now billing for sewer on the utility bill. So sewer one should be, some of that cost should be allocated to sewer one.
What do we have? I have a note about 4,400 computer services under administration. Did we?
Yes. So we are looking at possibly changing our billing software.
Oh, okay.
Which is not as big of a hit as we thought it would be
Okay.
if we went with one company. So I think we'd be able to do it with what's budgeted because the long-term cost is cheaper.
That's the Edmonds.
Yes. Yep. And that would carry over into the sewer 6 and also water 1.
So we don't need to change that.
That's Munis and Harris, because Munis is allocated across all the major funds.
So
What about, what did we say Edmonds was going to be? And that's got to be allocated across the three, right?
It's going to be allocated across everything but highway and, actually, we probably can allocate it across drainage if we wanted to. Can't
Oh.
allocate it across highway.
I don't remember how much she said Edmonds was going to be.
I know that
Yeah, but no.
the annual cost is slightly less, I believe,
Oh, it is.
but there is a $6,000.
Changeover.
Yeah, compared to the other companies, it's a tenth of what the other ones are.
Okay.
That would be split between the 3 lines as well.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's a fan of your current billing software, me included.
Right.
Me included.
We got to get a new one.
Okay. We reduced the slip lining amount from from last year. That's a process that we use to line the inside of the old clay pipe when we find an issue that requires repair without digging. And everything else is pretty much the same. Any questions on this part for collections?
The line 2000 equipment capital outlay 50,000. What does that entail?
That's the lining.
That's the slip lining.
Oh, that's
Yep.
line.
We've been able to utilize the Onondaga County bid for the last 2 years. So we're waiting to see if that gets awarded again. We can piggyback on that and get a lower pricing because they do it in such a large volume. We can piggyback and get the same pricing without going out to bid on our own.
Is that Precision? Who's doing the work?
Harold had it last 2 years, but Precision may have gotten it the last year, but we didn't do it last year.
Keep going, you're doing great.
Okay. Oh, and we put in a 5% CPI increase on the anticipated costs for the disposal with the city.
They haven't given us any indication about what the increase will be. Do they usually?
They will. We will get a, but it's always by the CPI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it will go up. And that's it for the contract that we have with them. Do we want to do revenues too? Or? No?
No.
Okay.
Did we go through employee benefits? Did we have a note about that? Because we were over in workers' comp.
So for all the departments, CDPHP came at us really hard at 12.5%. And we went back and said, not doing it. We offered 5, then they came back at 8.5. So we said, okay, we'll sign at 3. So I think we're there. However, our Medicare Advantage retirees, they're trying to hit us with a 130% increase for the premium for next year. So we're going to market for that. I just don't know how long it's going to take to get it in. But I mean, there was this thing called it was a special thing that the government passed. I can't remember the name of it now. And it affected Medicare plans. So I feel like what's happening, and I think the brokers are in agreement with us.
Inflation.
Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
It's really affecting the Medicare premiums, but in order to not raise the premiums on Medicare eligibles, the health insurance companies are hitting everybody else, right? Because they're trying to make up that difference. So that's where it was coming from. But the broker assured Aaron and I the other day that they were at some fundraising gala and CDPHP said, do you think they'll sign at 3? And we were like, get the paperwork here.
Yeah.
Get it here. So we really have to rework that state retirement. Once we did right before we finished the tentative budget, they revised their ask for retirement contributions. So that went up more than we expected.
More than we expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They should be doing well.
I know, but it's not. I don't know the answer, but I mean, they sent us these really great things. Oh, this is what you're going to do. We broke it out by every fund, by every employee for every fund. And then they came back and shot out a different letter and said, nope, we really meant this. These are costs, right? You're obligated to provide these benefits to your employees and to your retirees. So we're just kind of trying to play hardball, going to brokers and saying, no, we can't have this. I feel like vision will stay flat. They've stayed flat for a long time. That's provided by one of the unions. And I think we'll be in good shape with dental, but that health and workers' comp is quite costly as well. And I think that we need to get through 2025 and maybe we need to start shopping at that. I mean, we were self-funded, then we came off self-funded. Now we're self-funded for 4 people, but not for everybody else. Insurance is just, even our liability insurance. I mean, insurance is killing us right now.
I know.
And I don't know the answer to it. But I do think that perhaps, so our Medicare eligibles were moved into a consortium in 2023, I believe it was, and moved to Aetna. And from what I'm hearing about consortiums, it's not necessarily the way to go. So Aaron and I had a conversation about that today,
Moving them over.
Friday, whenever.
I can't remember.
And then we're going to sit and talk with a couple of different brokers. We have a consortium broker, and then we have our non-consortium broker that handles everything else. And just get the lay of the land, because I feel like these insurance companies are making their money off of everybody else's. I mean, me included. My car insurance like skyrocketed for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, my homeowner's insurance, everything is just not in a good light right now with insurance.
And we have a little bit more flexibility with the retiree plan, correct?
Well, we have the flexibility with retirees, right? It's your collective bargaining agreements where you don't have a lot of the flexibility. But I think we really need to look at this, and I think perhaps down the road we need to start setting money aside for this. You know, like a rainy day fund, because this is going to happen again, right? In 5 years or so, you know, things will level off for a few years, and then they hit you hard. And you know, we can look at post-employment benefits and setting money aside. We'll go through with the actuary and do what we usually do and see what he comes up with for numbers, and see if we start trying to set that a little bit aside every year.
He has that information, I think, built into the plan, right?
Yeah, well, we're due for actuarial evaluation in 2025. So we'll do
We two are
2025 and
there.
2026 too. And I remember somebody said that she'd love to do that stuff.
I'm very good at it.
Have at it. So we didn't go over that with other, but all the departments are the same, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's the
we're
same-
obligated to
same
provide
issue.
benefits, so. And, you know, the debt service, it is what it is. Those are payments that we have to make during the year. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Sewer 6, administration. I guess the one big change is that the utility fees have been moved all to this line for the water that's paid for that's used at the sewer plant. It was in another line further down that has now been zeroed out, and a portion of it's moved here to the $25,000. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. We did increase miscellaneous contractual a little bit. That was just to, once again, for the billing for
I'm gonna
the,
speak to that too. So
Sure.
everybody's 4,600 line is where, when we hire somebody, we do background checks. We do, depending on what their position is, we would do a physical, a comprehensive physical, and we do drug and alcohol testing. And we do random drug and alcohol testing throughout the year, and everybody's 4,600 line is what pays for that. So they don't always have a lot of control over that line, and I need to make sure, we've been going through this hiring thing in Matt's department right now where, you know, we hire, they don't stay, the city steals them, they
We-
throw money at them, and we're
we talked
paying for
about
all this
that.
stuff.
I feel like that might be a conversation for this year, so basically if we hire somebody, we are upfront spending, in some cases, like close to $1,000. And they may never, I mean, in highway that happened and the person never even started. And now we've spent $1,000 trying to hire them, and it's problematic. So we're trying to figure out the right balance of, can we get the employee to pay for it upfront, and then it's reimbursed to them after they stay for 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But then how do we do that in a way that doesn't deter people from applying? Because it's so much money. So
Do we have to do that? Can't we start that process after they're employed? Do we have to do it before they're employed?
Yes, we have to do it before they're employed, because once you put them on the clock, you own them. So as an
Well, they're in a
example,
probationary period, yes.
what if they fail a drug test?
yeah,
You know, that's the stuff that we need to have.
Well, and the
physical and the
background
drug
check,
test need to really be done first. You know, and really the background, I mean, I've tried
I
to
know.
tailor it down to as little as we can possibly get away with. But, you know, I don't want somebody going and working at the senior center that has some kind of an improper conviction on their record, and they're going and working with vulnerable seniors.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of we're trying to juggle. I think we might shop this year for the background checks and
Yeah.
stuff, and we're looking at, I want one-stop shopping for physicals and drug tests.
I'm
we don't have
surprised that
right now.
doesn't,
Kind of
that we
all
don't,
over the
yeah, that
place.
doesn't exist.
yeah, so it'll take quite a while as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Matt, let's go back here. The utility fees line, we're still in source 6, right?
Yes, yep.
Talked about that.
So the sewer plant uses quite a bit of water, and we do we do use recycled water, so we do use some of the water that's being discharged back out to the river. We bring it back and use it for certain operations, but there are some things that you need to have drinking water level, clarity. And so that's, I believe, I think Beth did this.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that part.
Did she move, is it also moved from the water and sewer
I have
maintenance?
to look at all this because honestly, we just got the town's second set of utility bills. And I want to see where we fall after we get those entered into the system because we had shortfalls ourselves, quite frankly, under the utility bills. I haven't seen a bill for the pool yet. That's going to be a huge hit in water.
Yeah,
Um,
which is weird, right? Because we would have used that water during the time period because they fill it in June, right? I would think.
They fill it constantly.
So I don't know.
I feel like something fell off.
Something
there or
is
something.
strange with that. We need to look. We might be paying it out of the wrong line or something.
That's what I think was happening too, because we'd get to the end of the year and we would have a utility line where they weren't even hit at all.
Right.
Yeah, I think it gets lumped in and thrown into the wrong line. So we should probably look. And I mean, they're all have the locations right on the bills, so we should be able to look.
Yeah,
and
there's
see
a
where
huge
they are.
spreadsheet that has them right on the G drive you can look at.
Okay.
On the 2000 line under collection system, I try to budget every year for it, roughly 150,000 for maintenance and upgrades and large improvements at our sewer pump stations. We have close to 20 pump stations, and most of the pumps in them at each station are quite old. So you have to plan on replacing one or two a year just to keep up on it so you don't fall behind and have them all go bad at the same time.
I have a note next to 4130.
4130.
We jumped way up and then we budgeted. Did we budget for something in this year and then just pull it over?
Where's that?
Equipment
Under
repairs?
collection, yeah. See how we had 20 in for this year? But it was $4,000 the year prior.
Do you have the note for that? What that was for?
I don't.
I don't remember what.
We've expended 13 year to date. So
1,000?
we've expended 13,000 year to date, so we've used quite a bit of it, but
So that's why I'm wondering if we budgeted for something last year, do we need to pull that over into this year?
We've already used 13. We probably,
But the year
Maybe
prior was only
not.
4.
I
So I'm
see
wondering if
that,
it was
yeah.
like a,
I don't have the
the
note.
year before
scribbled on
that was 14.3.
Did you just
Should we
base
look
it on
at
what we
that?
actually
what
spent,
we
I
could
think?
do is, after this, because I don't have a
We'll
computer.
pull-
we could
we'll pull
up
down what it was.
24's
and see if there's a
budget
note.
And see if there's a note on that one.
Okay.
I think what may have happened was we ended up using more than was planned on the previous year. And we moved money into that line to make it whole. And then I think she planned on going forward with that possibly.
Yeah, that's
That's-
what I'm wondering if.
That's what I think the
if there's-
conversation was.
I mean, can we pull it down, maybe even to 15? Or do we want to wait and look at the note from 24's?
I'd rather, if we could, look at the
Yeah.
note, just make
Yeah, I'm
sure.
looking at
I just feel like there must be a story behind that.
I just want to make sure I have the right one.
And see what that 13,000 this year has gone.
Well, no, it's more like because we budgeted this year, we spent the 13, but like, was there a note saying we know we have
What
to
it was
spend
for.
X? Yeah. And then do we have that same repair that we're expecting?
Oh, that wasn't.
But we can look. That would just stuck out to me.
Can we? Well, they'll look for that note. Can we jump back actually to 2000, the equipment and capital outlay?
Mhm.
Why? And I don't.
4120.
This is jumping back in history, but why is there such a huge jump? I mean, it was in 2018 it was like 86, and then it dropped down even in 2022 it was 15,000, and then it jumped all the way up to 198. Like, do you know why there was such a huge jump? And it's been six figures ever since.
because we identified that we need to put money into these pump stations because most of them were built when the town was growing in the 70s or 80s and 90s and early 2000s. So they're starting to hit a point where they need to have some serious overhaul to them. Like Avon Crest West or Avon Crest North is one. Our Imperial Drive Station was one that we did a few years ago. That was a big project. And then we also have to do work at our Valerie Drive Pump Station over on Adam Court. That station is one of our largest stations. So as we identify projects, that's where I like to spend the money. I think in the smaller stations, we tend to use a repair line because it's not as big of a purchase. It's smaller pieces and parts. But when we're looking at replacing pumps, I mean, the pumps at some of these larger stations, they actually last 20 years. You replace some of the moving parts inside, but when you have to take they're the size of almost like a 6-cylinder engine. They're large pumps. Underground, you have to use a crane to pull them out, and so that's the overhaul that we're starting to do it at some of the larger stations.
I had the same question for the 4,600 line. Why did we, I had that our year to date right now is only 3,900 under 4,600. Do we budget for something else in there that we just haven't paid for
I
yet?
don't really see any notes in the 2024 budget, so that's not really helpful.
Okay. So we need to go back through and see what was purchased like this year, last year, year before for that repairs line.
For the miscellaneous contractual?
A lot of money transferred out of that repairs line.
See, so what?
So hang on a second, let me get back to it.
You're looking at collection systems still, right?
Yeah, that 20,000, that's why I'm wondering. And she's saying monies were pulled from it for something else. So I'm trying to figure out what we actually pay out
So
of it.
last year we transferred out $22,790, and we transferred back in $2,000. This year we're at roughly $13,000 with $7,000 remaining in the bank.
And do we know what we spent the 13,000 on?
The VACCon truck, Granger, camera for the VACCon truck,
Oh, okay. Maybe we knew we were going to have
Schenectady
to.
Truck and Auto, Seaworth.
So what are we?
The biggest expense was $2,100, and that was repairs to the Balltown, oh, I'm sorry, 5,400 Balltown Road repairs, pump station repair.
So
Like $7,800 into that pump station.
if we're replacing pumps, do you think we still need the 20 in there?
That wasn't a replacement, that was a repair.
Oh,
Every year we go through and we tear the pumps apart to see what they have to do, work on the impeller or the wear plate and make adjustments. And that's every year, it's typically our winter project. We buy the parts that we need to rebuild the pumps, put them back in, we put one whole rotating assembly back on a shelf so that we can pull it and replace it. But the main housing, that's the part that over time wears out. And that's when it really gets really expensive.
So
You have to do
would we
that.
be comfortable doing 15 since we had 14 and then 4 and then we're at 13 right now? Just dropping it 5.
On 23, it was 29 we spent. And in, let's see, 22, it was 12.5. In 21, it was back up to 27,500. It's never been really below 12, 13,000.
For 4130?
Oh, you moved.
I'm
You
sorry.
jumped on me. Now you went to 4130?
No, I'm sorry. I must have been, yeah.
I thought you were in 40, that was 4,600. I was reading you those numbers.
Yes, so that one, I did ask about that one because we were only at 3,900 this year, but I think we jumped back up to the notes for 24 in repairs, correct?
Now you went to 4130?
Yeah. Because we were checking on the notes from 24.
Well, if you go back to 22, we spent 14,000.
Right.
In 21, 17,000, and in 20, 27,900 in that 4135.
Right, it's sort of a crapshoot, but the last 3 years, we have 13 this year, 4 the year prior, and 14 the year prior. And if we're investing in pump replacement, at least we should assume that there should be at least some
level of reduction in repairs.
Yeah, I mean, we transferred almost $23,000 out of that line last year.
That's what I'm
This is
saying.
what
I think we could
talking
drop
about.
it
If we do
5.
Budget mods back and forth between the same lines. Let's put it where it really should be. So
That's
we're not doing that.
So I feel like we could drop that to 15 if we're constantly pulling money in and out.
Out of which one?
The repairs,
Equipment.
4130.
And truthfully, it's like
4,600. It was budgeted at 20, we've expended 4, and you've transferred out 5 for the,
And 4130.
no, sorry, that's the 4,600. For the 4130, 4130 was 20,000, we've spent 13. We haven't moved anything out of it this year, but last year
We were.
moved out
22,000.
22,000.
And then moved 31,000 back in. So
31,000 back in for this year?
last year.
But then why do we have it at 4?
No, I'm sorry. So we're talking about,
I'm still up
we're
here.
talking about the 4130. Janet
Yeah.
was looking at that, the miscellaneous line for you.
Oh,
It was
okay, yeah. I'm still up on 4130.
For the 4130, I'm looking. We spent 13 this year. Last year we spent 4, but for that line we did move money out and back in. We moved out 22 and we put 2 back in. So we moved out 20,000 from that line in the course of the year.
So
cover
that's why I'm
other
thinking, do we really need 20? We could probably do 15.
Yeah, I would
right?
agree. I mean,
That's
and
kind of what I'm thinking.
I think we need to look at the transfers and figure out where we're transferring it to and maybe increase those lines a little bit.
That's why I'm wondering is it miscellaneous and contractual?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them in here, Frank,
oh, and they're all small.
and they're all small.
Forensic accounting.
We aren't forensic accountants. I hate to break it to you, Bills, but
Yes,
Frank
we are.
is, Frank is.
Janet.
You don't
Can
get
do
guns.
anything.
Yeah, this was just miscellaneous stuff.
But yeah, it's just small stuff.
I think it's, does it,
300,
was it
400, 4,000.
I think we need to
2,000.
4,600?
And reallocate properly,
Okay.
so we're not doing budget mods all year.
Well, where did we pull? You said last year we pulled 22 out. Where did we put that?
It-
It's
46.
all over the place.
It
Oh,
was, it was
okay.
$300, $400, 700, 4,000, 4,500. It was just different lumps of money being used to cover
Whatever bill
other
comes
lines
in.
needed.
So
I think
4,600 a lot.
I think
That's
the,
what I'm
the attempt is to hold that money because if one of the pumps did fail,
I'm
where
not
we
saying
had a
don't
large,
hold it. I'm
yeah.
saying don't put it in a line where you're gonna
Right.
transfer it out and then I have to transfer it back in
Mm-hmm.
a month later. I think we need to look at where to properly allocate so that your bills can be paid without Kathy waiting for us to do a budget mod.
So we need to shuffle this a little.
Yeah,
We need
I
to
think
look
we
and
do.
see where that money went.
it's also been, and I think it has a lot to do with preferences of comptrollers throughout the years.
Agreed.
Like lumping it into one and then,
Yeah.
Everything from, sometimes, like I'll jump to the water. A fire hydrant that's thousands of dollars. But we used to put it as a 2,000 expense. Then under Paul, it was told to us that it was not, should be a 4120 expense.
Right, the auditor said it's not a
Yeah.
2,000 because it's not gonna go against the fixed assets because it's not
oh,
part of the interest. So
That's
they like to see
interesting.
in the 2,000s is an actual fixed asset. It falls under our fixed asset policy.
that makes sense. That's how you.
And a hydrant does not. So they changed it to 4120, then it went, it was just.
But a hydrant lasts over 100 years in some cases.
I know, that's sort of interesting.
That's
But we're
so
not
confusing.
tracking
Unless
it in
somebody hits them,
inventory.
we've had that twice in the
Yeah.
last month.
My sister hit one in the 90s. Sorry about that.
But yeah,
Okay, so do we want to, this sounds like we need to pick this apart a little bit, maybe send an update and just shuffle some of these so that the lines more accurately represent where the money's actually going. Maybe not necessarily an increase, but a shuffle.
Right.
But the amount's not changing, I take it.
No.
No, we just need to move some stuff. It saves the comptroller's office a lot of work when we put things where they're supposed to be. And since we're already have too much work in that office, I think we can make those changes now and save some time later.
All right, Matt, where to next?
Treatment and disposal.
Is that additional testing for Kobani, DEC?
Yeah, yes, yep.
$25.
So we are not planning on getting it was increased last year, the 2000 line was increased because we purchased a pickup truck that was replacing I think it's a 2008 pickup, which we just received just now. So that's why the capital line was reduced from 134 down to 80 this year going forward, because we don't expect we're currently driving an old police car that is we're putting a lot of money into that car that I don't want to keep putting money into. So we're going to shuffle around one of the older trucks from the water and sewer crew and put it down at the sewer plant as a secondary truck. And they had to just receive the new truck about a week ago.
Who's driving the car?
Um,
It's like a car?
It's a police car, yeah.
You should talk to Laura because I think there was another EV grant out there.
I've been asking her about that. Because the trucks that we have, that Dan was driving, the Dodge, I think that was
Like
I
an
went
EV
to a
grant
truck,
for the-
somebody's driving
No.
an old police car, maybe.
Well, they had trucks, didn't they? They had some electronic trucks.
I don't-
didn't they?
I don't mind a car either. I
But they won't
mean,
give us much
if they're just running to the lab to deliver samples to Albany, an electric
Mm-hmm.
vehicle would be perfect for that.
Yeah. Okay. So this 80 that's in there is for a truck to,
No, though, that's for just equipment at the plant. It was 134 when it was bumped up to 134 to cover a truck.
oh, okay, that note got left in here. I thought the 80 was.
Yeah,
for-
that's an old note.
Okay.
What kind of equipment?
Anything from pump station controls, dryer work, scrubber,
Why the big increase over the last 3 years? I
because we
mean,
just put $30 million into a plant that has very expensive, very high technology equipment. That's the part of when you go from using archaic equipment and the maintenance costs, like for example, with the UV light system for the disinfection, I put in $40,000 for upkeep of that, where we were buying chlorine gas in the past. So we're not buying the chlorine gas any longer, but there's an offset for the cost.
But wait, for
But that's
this
an
one,
equipment repairs, right?
yeah,
That
I'm
would
gonna
be
say,
repairs, but
what's in the 2000? Like what would be a fixed asset that we're,
well, anything that's larger, that's the question that we've had, because
where
what
does
is,
it go?
Hmm?
Where does it go?
where does it go? Yeah.
Can you
That's
think?
the controller's office.
I know, but I
Because
need to know the
it's a
thing.
perfect example, we have a pump that goes bad. The pump needs to be replaced. Is that an asset or is that a repair of a system?
It's a repair.
It's part of a system.
I
but
say
in the
it's
past-
a repair.
But in the past, it's been a 2000 because it's a pump, but it's part of a system.
Well,
I-
I get that, but then why
I
do
don't
we
care, just
have?
give me the money and put it in the right place.
But for sewer 6, if we're talking about capital expenditures and collection systems having 150 for the replacement of pumps, why do we need another 80
Because
in
that's-
treatment and disposal?
Those are the pumps that on the system. We
Oh,
have
inside the
19 pump
system.
stations throughout the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we anticipate at least one of them needing to be replaced.
There are dozens of pumps and electronic valves and some of the stuff was not replaced as part of the upgrade. So we still have, like, we're replacing a blower right now on the dryer, a blower motor on the dryer. That's a couple $1,000s just for that.
Yeah, I don't want to over budget in the 2000 for stuff that might be in 4130 because we have plenty of money in 4130, right? Or
that is the most, second most it's ever had in the last 6 years.
that's what I'm saying. The scrubbers in there, sludge dryer, the UV light.
If I have to change the media in the scrubber, that's $35,000 just for that.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's what we have down here. I guess we need to make sure we're just putting it in the right line. I mean, it's a good question. Do we know how other places do it as far as are to be
There's
inventorying that?
actually on my desk,
Oh.
tacked, a thing from the, our auditors and the state controller that says how you determine whether it's
Oh.
equipment or repair.
Fabulous. There we go.
If we could do that, that would be wonderful.
Woo, I'm fading.
Yeah, me too. So, let me just-
You're still in, which one?
I'm just trying to eyeball.
Okay.
these, see where we're at
Oh, 4120.
while I'm in there.
We have 36 year to date, but we only have 18 budgeted.
That's I hate that line. I'm telling you, I'm gonna take it right out of the budget.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this.
Miscellaneous field and office supplies, so we transferred in 24,000.
That's where we
We
get
actually
pushed.
spent that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is part of we need to figure that out and put it in the right lines. Okay.
Yeah, if we can move money out of 2000 into 4120 or 4130, I'm all for that.
Yeah, me too.
And just
Okay.
something in writing would be wonderful. I know Beth was working on that, but
That's on Kathy, something in writing from the state controller's office.
Okay.
All we have, I'm not putting anything in writing. We're following their guidelines, right?
well, the problem was that I would go to Beth and I would get, well, it could be this or that either way.
Well,
Because she said you could argue, you could argue. Yeah.
And then we'll keep doing it that way.
I just say that I'm all for that.
Yeah, good.
Anything else on there on water?
Yeah, 4520, what ESG, we're done with them, right?
No, so we hold that, they were available for support if we needed it when the digesters were online. And they haven't been asking for any money. So we haven't been pushing the subject. And we haven't needed them right now because everything's working well. But the way we had left it with them was if we needed to have them come in and provide consult work, we would bring them in, but we haven't needed to bring them in at this point.
We're getting that for Barton and La Judas, actually. So what's that about?
Were we taking the Barton and La Judas out of that line?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
That's
maybe
fine.
we-
It's the
it's
same sort of
consulting.
work.
Yeah, it's
Same thing,
well,
yeah. Different company.
ESG was working with Barton LaJudas.
Right.
But as far as the performance contract, we're not in that any longer.
Okay, so this is à la carte if we need it type.
If we hit a point where our digesters have an issue and we need their expertise because they have a lot of experience with it,
Right.
we can contact them, and they've left it as an open door just to call them. And
So really, we could put that engineering services and get rid of the.
yeah,
ESG
that's really what it is.
In
Yeah.
parentheses.
It's engineering services.
And then the sludge, we talked about the sludge, didn't we? We have to keep it that high?
Yes,
Okay, I had a
Yes.
note, but I can't remember if we talked about it.
it's for sludge disposal. Is that it?
Water one administration, that's it for
Mm,
quick.
yeah.
Trying to trick me back to back.
Oh. So water administration,
Where are we going next?
water admin,
What page is that, man?
328.
28, thank you. Need one more page, there we go.
pretty much the same. I think similar to like before Munis and some of the other software bumps up the computer services amount. And then the miscellaneous contractual, that was for Vincy's or printing services for the spring and fall.
I know.
Is it-
Postage
Is there any other option?
We have to talk about that.
I know. I feel like we have.
We were
to
just
do
talking about
this
that
as
today.
an op- I feel like we need to start pushing the online billing. It would save us so much money in postage. Let's talk about that because I had some ideas. I see Josh back there like, hey. Josh and I have had this conversation 100 times. I feel like there are a lot of things that we could that would benefit from online emailed bills,
Mhm.
etc. So I have a couple of companies that I was looking into, but I think we need everyone in the same room talking about the same thing because it would make the most sense if we had all of the departments that are taking
Well, and
that
your
are
new
available.
controller implemented this in another
That's right.
municipality, so
That
I
is
feel
right.
like that could be like on the ground running while I get through
That
end
would
of
be
the
so
year,
great.
open enrollment and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
coming down the
Okay.
pipe.
So so November, let's go through that and see if we can't come up with a better solution. Because I'm like, we probably should have done that like a while ago.
The other,
We've really looked, everything was really expensive.
It is
Yeah.
expensive, but then I feel like think about even the manpower that goes into, I think it's a bigger conversation, but yes, the postage is killing us.
just processing it and the costs. I mean, we used to be able to use, there was another company that was cheaper, but then they changed their rules and COVID just, they wouldn't accept, we used to print our own bills and deliver it to Mailworks and they would,
We
they
had a
would
special
stuff them.
copier downstairs and they would run the bills off.
Yeah, it was a lot cheaper, but then if the printer went down, then you were done for. I'm all for technology.
Okay. Let's keep on that.
Source and supply.
I assume, all that stuff is steps and increases, right, Janet? The
Yep.
Personal
We did that.
services.
Contractual obligations, steps.
You got well 3 in here for replacement.
That's a water pump station. That's Water District 3. We're doing we've awarded the contract to do the first pump this year. These are the pumps from the 1970s that we're replacing. So we're doing the first one this year and then the second one next year. Hopefully it will be good for another 30 years, 40 years.
That's the well redevelopment.
No, that's, we have the elevated storage tank that you can see from Balltown Road. That's filled through a separate pump station that pumps it to a higher level. That's what we call our Water District 3 pump station. The pumps that are in that facility they're from the 1970s. So they're getting noisy, and if they went down, we would lose fire service for the higher elevation of town.
So we just need to change the name on that account too, because it does say well development.
Yeah.
I think
Where's
it's just
that?
supposed to be capital outlay, the 2,000.
Oh, yeah, it should be
We
just the
have to
capital,
change that name.
capital outlay.
Just take that out.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the second part.
Yeah, that's,
What do you think? The electricity is kind of higher than past
We
year.
just talked, Frank and I were just talking about that. So there was a lot of a solar program that they were giving us credits for. And I don't know if they were misapplying them or not applying them, but it's like those solar credits have like pretty much disappeared.
So we were getting
So we
credit.
went
That's
from
gone.
a $6,000 bill to a $17,000 bill for Lock 7 Road monthly.
So
And we haven't changed our operations down there. That would cause the change.
So we're looking into that, or this is because these credits expired?
I don't know because that wasn't a Janet thing. So again, I'm hoping the new controller has some familiarity with this and I'm trying to find some of the contracts so we can look and see I mean, as you know, I've got an entirely new staff up there. So the
Yes.
lady that's up there handling AP is not familiar with any of this because it was the former AP person and Beth that handled it. So this is something I really feel strongly about that we need to look into because
Yeah.
all of our electric bills are shooting up. And this is before they even approve the 15 to 20% increase in March or April
yeah,
of 2025, if they approve it.
that's like a huge
That's
increase.
huge.
That's not even like,
It's huge.
Something doesn't seem right.
No,
yeah.
no. But we also had was it last year? The year before? They failed to come and read a meter and then whacked
That
us
was
with a
the-
$280,000
That was a sewer
electric
plant,
bill.
yeah. The National Grid installed a new meter about 5 years ago and never, then they switched the counts around, but never started billing us until they realized that 5 years later that they hadn't been billing us for the electricity. So they ended up, so they gave us this is a little bit further back because they gave us the full length of how long they didn't read it to pay it back. So we had to pay a little bit each time to catch up.
I think we just finished paying.
We just finished paying, yeah.
This past year.
Interest-free.
Interest-free,
Yes,
yes.
interest-free.
Yep.
But still, it was.
It's still
You
a
think
lot.
I was gonna pay interest bill?
Oh, I just want to make sure everybody knew that we didn't pay any extra.
Yes.
Nope. I don't think they can charge us, I don't think
No,
they
'cause
can
I think
charge
that
us
wasn't them
interest.
error. They had made a big,
Doesn't help with budgeting, but we got an interest-free loan.
Be nice.
So I think for the time being, chlorine has stabilized. It's never going back down, but the price of chlorine after COVID has leveled out. So I think that's a good number going across.
55's gonna work? Yes, Frank?
I
That's,
think so.
oh, sorry for chlorine.
Yeah, we saw it stabilize at the pool this year too. I think 55 will be okay. 83.30.
What about lab right underneath it? Do we need 35? Is that what we're at?
Year to date, for chlorine, we've done 32. So we have, that's only
Okay.
like 60% of the budget, but there's still 2.5 months to go plus.
Well, that's probably about the
depending on
right.
the year.
That's
if
probably
it's
about
the
right,
time
since
of
it's gonna
year.
go up, you know it's gonna go up. It's not-
Okay,
Lab-
thank you.
lab prices in the last 2 or 3 years have skyrocketed because the state has mandated additional testing now.
Do we think it's going to go? What are we at right now for 41?
42%, so we've spent 13.7 and we've got 1,200 encumbered.
So we have 20,000
So
in that line.
can we move? Can we drop that just a little?
It's for lab.
Yeah. I had a note.
I wouldn't, Matt's got that look.
I know. He's
They-
going to kill me on my way to my car.
Lowering all they're lowering the requirements on, like, it's not parts per million, it's parts per trillion.
Trillion.
It's just gonna be more costly to
And
us.
we did contract with the city of Schenectady to get some of our lab costs down. So that was good.
But we haven't even, but I guess more what I'm saying is we've got 35. We did 20 last year. We're at 13 right now, right? And then the year before that, I was 27. Even if we just drop it to 30, would we be safe doing that?
We could do that.
Good chlorine, but lower in here.
Fortunately, the state mandates new testing and
That's cool.
they don't help you with the costs.
Oh, no. That's so weird for New York State to
Yeah.
do that. That unfunded mandate.
The history. The history. This one, 20, without accounting for the COVID year, I mean.
We were also offline quite a bit.
What do we
were
have
also
left?
Offline at the beginning of the year, so we didn't use chlorine
Yeah.
during the upgrade.
On our page 29 would be under transmission and distribution.
Okay.
4660, the in-house meters. What is that and why is that a
So
huge jump?
our meters that we have were installed beginning 15 years ago. The current meters, they have a 15-year warranty on the battery. And when we first put the meters in, we had issues with glitches with the batteries on the radio, on the radios built into the radio, into the meters. And we negotiated with TI Sales and Neptune, the manufacturer, to get a extended warranty on the meters. And they extended the all the way to the past the 15 years. And for the next 3 years, we're still within that window of half price on
This year only or for this?
the next 3 years. So that's why Beth bumped it up to start replacing the registers on the meters, because we can get them at half price.
Is that for all the meters in 1 year or is that?
That's for a third. Well, no, that's
1,600 each year, I think I had written down.
So it's to work through
Yeah.
the next 3 years and take advantage of that 50%
Well,
savings.
this year.
This year, yeah,
2024,
yeah.
2025 and 2026 she has.
Which we haven't purchased as many at this point. We still have some left over, I believe.
You know what I'm gonna say to you? Get it encumbered
Well,
before the end of the year.
you also don't want to buy something that has a battery on it that starts going bad the minute you
No,
buy
I
it
know.
too. So we wanted to make sure that
53, so there's 172 left.
Are you installing them yourselves?
this year we were doing it ourselves. If you look in the next year, we had some money to start contracting some of this work out to try to get more done within that window. Literally, it's a 5-minute visit into a house to do this change. It takes longer to schedule and get someone to grant you access into the home.
Right,
Yeah.
coordinating with the homeowner
Yeah.
to get in.
So we could do quite a few. John Jackson on the water crew has been very aggressive in going in and changing the heads as he goes through his reading the meters. If he sees one that's not reading, he starts and does that one first, obviously, and then keeps going through. But I think if we want to get through the full grouping of meters before we lose that opportunity, we may contract a little bit more in the last year to get it done. But
Yeah,
it's,
I think she increased that line, right?
she did for next year, I think 30,000, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, sure, spread it out, but you're getting them at half price, you gotta
Get
take
them in.
advantage of that.
yeah. On top of that, they not only gave us half price on the meters, they gave us, I think it was $60,000 or $70,000 in credit towards other meters, which we've used on some of our larger customers. So we were able to replace GE's meter and to take that big chunk out using the money that they had given us as part of the credit. So it was a good deal, but I don't want to miss out on the last few years of it.
I'm sorry, but I have to check out a little bit early.
I think I'm almost done.
The last thing we have is the drainage district, and this is, if you guys remember, Beth consolidated the 33 drainage districts that we had into one. So this is kind of 2024 was our first year with operating out of the drainage district, the consolidated drainage district. So we're just kind of throwing it at the wall and see what sticks. I feel like everything here is okay.
Yeah.
We may
it's-
want to give him, is Cameron doing drainage work?
Cameron is going to be very busy looking at doing all the pond inspections.
But is he doing drainage work? Because if
Yes.
he is, then we're gonna want to
Yep.
give him some money for gas.
He's going to be
For the
doing
truck.
drainage work. He's going to be doing, I was going to give Ray a plug. The excavator that he's buying, that he wants to buy, there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done on our stormwater ponds. And this would be a very useful tool to do that work.
Yeah.
The ponds that we have, they're getting older now and they need to be cleaned out and they need to be maintained. And New York State DEC issued a new stormwater permit beginning of this year, which increases over the next 5 years a lot of the requirements on our stormwater program. They're creeping in with more and more requirements and inspections, more detailed inspections, more maintenance. So the cost is going to go up as far as stormwater related. So I modified our stormwater plan, the town stormwater plan in-house. We were going to try to contract that out, but we did it in-house to save money. But just in writing that, we had to basically identify issues that we have to address, or not issues, but things that we have to do to stay in compliance with the permit. So it's going to get more expensive for drainage, unfortunately. So this will be helpful, having the consolidated drainage district to help fund some of that. So I'm completely in support of his excavator request. And as far as his vac truck goes, the water and sewer bought our vac truck that we have, which is a very important tool. About a year or two after Highway bought their first one, we've since already replaced ours. So they've done a great job maintaining it and stretching it as far as they have.
That's good to know.
So
And you're still, so, and you'd be your recommendation that we have two of those.
We use ours in a completely different way.
Yeah.
We clean sewers and we jet, and our pumper has a little bit more power than the one they have now, because we go down deeper. They're doing catch basins where we're going down. You have to have more power to suck from a lower elevation, so they're not the same. They're similar equipment, piece of equipment. Plus, no one in the highway wants to touch the water and sewers back truck that's been in the sewer.
Can you give him back $200 in his gas line though for Cameron?
Yeah, but did we put it somewhere else?
No, so
What
he's
was Cameron
allocated
working on?
now. So they used to be allocated across engineering 1490 and sewer 1 and sewer 6 and water 1, and then she did this drainage district. So now, based on the work that they're doing, we've reallocated him to drainage, sewer 1, sewer 6 and water 1. He might be a little bit of engineering too.
Yeah, we took some out of here too,
Yeah.
for training recently, because we had to do extra
I
new
feel
training
like-
now
yeah.
for the,
So
So
when
we-
somebody's allocated,
Yeah.
all of their expenses are allocated. So like, I don't just do general fund work. I do sewer 1 work, sewer 6 work, water 1 work.
I know that's in here. I'm just saying we did allocate it last year and then we haven't been pulling from it. Do you see what I'm
No,
saying?
yes, we are pulling from it. It's just that payroll wasn't pulling from it properly, so Janet has to do journal entries.
I gotcha. Okay.
and we'll be doing a lot more drainage related with Cameron.
Well, then he should be tracking his time because maybe we have to charge drainage more. If he's doing
I
more
can have him
drainage
check.
work than sewer 1, sewer 6 and water, what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that'd
Allocation
be
should be correct.
Helpful. Okay, so we're putting gas, not diesel, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Because it's just for his work car, so when he drives around.
I also wouldn't mind an electric car for him either, if we can get one on a grant.
I take any electric
Seriously.
cars we can get on a grant right now. Anything we can get for free. I'll take it. Right, Bill?
You got it.
This isn't gonna work this way. I propose that we discuss revenues. We'll go over everything independently. We'll get caught up. We'll get back to the board. Maybe we have to have another workshop, maybe we don't, but I feel like
We could try to tack that on if it's just that one short section to the meeting next week. Could we do that? If
Yeah, I
it's
feel
just that,
and it's gonna take me a couple weeks to get Medicare eligible rates back,
okay.
but
We could at least do the
I
rest
feel
of
like
it
we
at
can
least.
tweak.
Ye-
the-
Yes, because
the
we,
other back down
you're
to
right.
3%.
I had some other changes too that, that Laura made. That should help.
We need another meeting,
Yeah,
short one.
short one, yeah. I
Another
think, I
workshop.
think we need to sit down and do our whole thing and put it together and then bring the board in and let them sit down and
With the updates.
cover us.
I have a ton of updates. I did the ones from last week and I have that running. We should go over the ones that we did for last week, the
Yes.
adjustment. Okay.
That sounds like a tomorrow, Janet and Aaron and Frank
Oh
problem.
my gosh, I'm like, my brain is scrambled. Okay. Do I have to close this?
I don't think so. This is not a formal meeting.
No,
Yeah.
that's
It's a
why she
workshop.
goes, well, did you call it to order? I'm like, no. I didn't know what I was supposed to say.
I don't think
But
you-
next week I will know, I promise.
I don't think you have to call it to order, do you?
She said we do because we're all together.
Gotcha.
So we have to like say that out loud. Second.
Third.
Aye.
So we should get together tomorrow then, if you have the time.